5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello there, Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Elizabeth. Beth.
Elizabeth.
One
Beth.
time she tried getting everybody to call her Beth.
It worked. I will have you know it worked.
I never called you Beth.
Was that an angle? Like, that's going to be my new angle?
There was
today,
like,
Beth.
we had like 4 Lizzes working in, so like,
So if you want to talk, hey, I was Liz number 2. Yeah.
yeah, she was the shit.
She was the most important Liz? Or actually, who was first Liz? Because you're number 2.
No, you were Liz 1, weren't you?
No, not before Lisette left.
Oh.
Lisette was Liz number 1.
Now she's...
But I never called her Liz, so it didn't count for me.
No, I always called her Lisette. Yeah.
So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
One thing we always like to do when we first start the show is let them know what you're drinking.
So, well, it's a misrepresentation.
We're on bottle number 2 apparently already.
Well, I staged it. I got it ready. So, as always, not a sponsor, but I'm drinking a Malbec. Today it was what was on sale, Alamos. 91 points though. Don't know what that means.
I don't know. It's pretty tasty.
Is it
Tastes
like
good.
91 out of 100? Is there such thing, or is it 99?
Is it $10?
I don't know. I rang up at $9. I didn't think it was that cheap, but I don't know. I don't know what the rating is. I know over 90 is good. At least that's what like the interweb says. So
Well, and it's not watery like some of the cheaper wines because they use like a fruit juice when they make it. It's not as heavy. This one's really tasty.
Yeah.
That's definitely worth $10.
I'm taking it was $8.99.
Yeah.
It's probably better than jailhouse wine. So
Yeah. I'm gonna say so.
I don't know though. I mean, I see over time. I don't know, man. It's so yeah, it goes up to 100. It goes right up to 100 for the points.
Oh, okay, so we're pretty close to 100.
So
yeah.
what was it?
91.
That's not bad for a $10 bottle of
Yeah.
wine. I mean, that's pretty good. It's better than I think they started off at 80. I think it says here. Well, actually, hold on. 2 more rows. Nope, it actually goes worse than that. So it goes 50 to 74, which is not recommended.
Yeah.
75 to 79 is mediocre, a drinkable wine that may have minor flaws. An 80 to an 84 is a good, solid, well-made wine. 85 to 89 is very good, a wine with special qualities. 90 to 94 is outstanding.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
I mean, I don't know if this is the official wine rating thing. Let's see. It's probably like Joe's wine rating.
Yeah, he just puts it out with a sticker, like
It
a
says
price sticker.
JamesSuckling.com. So I don't know if that's the dude, or maybe it's just some guy drinking it in his basement, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's a 91." Yeah.
So he says that's a wine of superior character and style.
Oh, I mean,
And then a 95 to 100 is a great classic wine.
all right.
So now we know.
On that scale, a 91 sounds accurate. I would give that a 91.
She goes, that's my professional.
Yeah.
I'm
opinion.
not a sommelier.
I'm gonna have to try to find like a 95 or something, and just see, maybe do a comparison, blind taste test.
Well, how much would a 100 point cost you? Like, are we talking big money?
I don't know. I would think.
That's interesting. We're going to get to the bottom of this
Yeah.
because you are a wine connoisseur. Now, do you normally drink wine?
If offered wine, beer, or liquor, I usually default to wine.
Yeah. What's your, if you're only given beer, what's your next choice?
Anything not large. Like, do you have anything local? Like, I would ask for a local, probably.
Oh, like no, like large scale brewery type stuff.
No,
Yeah.
I don't like them. They all taste the same and they're watery. And I'm sorry. I try. People offer me a Coors, I accept. And I milk that thing all day until it's warm, and I just can't. Oh, I forgot. Oops.
So
Like-
are we hoppy or are we non-hoppy?
I do like hops.
Yeah.
My husband is not a fan, so he does a lot of Irish Reds.
Ooh.
Well, I
I
don't
do
say a
like
lot
Irish
of.
Reds, though.
Yeah.
They are good.
I misspoke. I don't want to say a lot of Irish Reds because there aren't a lot of them out there.
No, yeah.
Right.
Like Sam Adams has their brick red.
Yep.
They, from what I understand, they just started selling it outside of the city recently.
Yeah, because it's pretty new for them. And
I think they sell it at a bar or a liquor store in Middletown. Like he drove all the way down there
really,
to
And
get
then
it.
you have what?
Oh, wow.
Smithwick's and Killian's.
Killian's
and
is garbage.
It is garbage.
What about I know it's not red, but is he a Guinness fan?
He does. I don't. I've tried because, girls are supposed to like stouts, and it's not
so
for
smooth
me.
and creamy.
But it's
I
heavy.
can't. Yeah, I can't get into
It's
it.
not heavy. That's
Never
the-
could.
It's thick. I don't like my beer thick. It's not a thing. It's not my favorite.
See, scientifically, it actually has a lower specific gravity. It floats. It floats on lighter beers.
It's with probably the swirls, right? I mean, it's pretty when you pour it.
Yeah.
It is. It does look chocolatey and very good. And then I drink it. I'm like, That's
And
when
it's
your mind
lower-
plays like your eyes and your mind don't really work together on that one.
Yeah.
You know what the problem is? I think I would drink it more if it came in like one of the small glasses instead of having to commit to drinking an entire stout. Like if you gave me like a small one, I might drink it. Like I feel like it's one of those acquired tastes. I just
I think all beer is, but once you get on a roll,
It really is.
yeah, it's fair.
I can remember having a few times of my dad's beer, and I'm like, "What? You drink this swill?" And then all of a sudden, one day, I think it was a Bud Light, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think I remember it being a Bud Light, and I'm like, I kind of like this. And then the other part of it was I got into his bourbon,
Mhm.
and I was like, the first thing it reminded me of was when you go to the doctor's when you're a kid, and he wipes the alcohol on you to give you a shot. I'm like, people drink this nonsense? And then sure enough, I taste Crown Royal for the first time. Well, my grandfather drinks whiskey, and so that's how I got into a little bit of whiskey. Then I got the Crown Royal Manhattans, and that was game over for me.
Manhattans, huh?
Oh,
You're
yeah.
all distinguished and stuff.
Because my grandfather used to smoke a pipe all the time. We have a bunch of pictures of me on his lap with a pipe, and that's how one of my fondest memories of him is having that pipe with a drink. So when I became old enough to sneak liquor or whatever, I always thought of myself like him. Like, do I look like him? That was always a fond memory for me to do that. So, he liked chocolate too. Like he liked candies and all that kind of stuff. So we would always go over his house and try to look for candy. And he used to always hide it like under his chair. Like he said he hid it, but he didn't really try very hard.
It was like an Easter egg hunt. Yeah.
Yep. So, it's funny now because back then we didn't have all the liquors they have now, like flavored stuff. We had Purple Passion. That was like the hottest rage at the time. When you first started drinking, what was what'd you dabble in?
So, despite what my mother would like to believe, I actually wasn't drinking a lot underage.
Really?
No, not really. Like I had a mouth and I didn't like to be told what to do, but I wasn't like getting into trouble. Like I had friends that we would go to parties, I'd drink what they had. I remember getting really toasted on Heineken. I could never in a million years drink that now. That is the most disgusting beer that I've ever smelled. I cannot even believe I ever put that in my mouth.
I think I've only had like 2 beers that come in a green bottle that I've
It's
liked.
just the skunk,
it
smelly.
smells,
It's skunky beer.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
I like the Heineken 000. Or is it triple or triple X? Whatever, the non-alcohol one. That's really good.
I don't like they gave me some free ones in my HelloFresh box.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm like, well, yeah, sure, I'll give it a try. I'm like,
I
I
love
don't know. I'm like, if I'm gonna drink something that tastes like this, I at least want to get a buzz off.
I started drinking it because I saw it on the Joe Rogan show, and I'm like, I'm going to try one of those. And it took me forever to find them. And to tell you the truth, I didn't find one around here. Like I had to go down to like Wilbraham or something.
It's a 0 alcohol one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I finally found it. It was a period of time where I didn't drink. I didn't drink for like 5 years. I might have had a drink maybe once or twice a year, and maybe a little bit more than that. But it had to be at a special occasion, and I really only drank with 2 people. So I'm now, because of the podcast, I'm on heroin now. No, only kidding. But I started drinking, but I have a intestinal issue that my body hates me, and I like, because my buddy's been making oh God, what's the name of it? I can't remember the name of it now. We'll move on. He's making a whiskey drink. I can't believe I can't remember. It's got a cherry, the
An old fashioned?
old fashioned.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I've been drinking those once a week.
Yeah.
Just one. I didn't have one this weekend, but he makes them killer, and I just love. I remember like the taste after coming home from work, having a cigar and a drink. So I don't smoke cigars anymore, but the old fashions will stick with me, or Manhattan all
Yeah?
day long. Yeah, that's my thing.
So, funny thing about the Manhattan, I ordered one once. I meant to order a Cosmo. That was totally different.
Oh yeah, that's
That's
a
on the other
different
Oh my
drink.
God. I'm like, I got that. And I'm like, that's not the color it's supposed to be. Maybe I just didn't know better. I was an adult. This did not happen when I was like 22. This was at the movie theater
This is last week.
This was at the movie theater in Manchester. Like, this happened like 3 years ago. And I'm like, oh, do you think they'll take it back? If I tell them, if I cop to it and admit that I ordered the wrong drink, do you think that they'll make me a new one?
Or you could just go Karen and be like, no, I ordered a Cosmo.
No, I wouldn't do
Yep.
that.
I know
Full
you
Karen.
I would never do. Well, I would go full Karen. It depends
But
on
not
what
if it was your mistake.
not if it was my mistake. Like, I would absolutely own up to it. 100%.
We just found a Karen in our neighborhood. Well, she's been a Karen for a long time, but so she lives on the next street up, and she blares her horn at the stop sign, and then comes all the way down my street blaring her horn, because when people come around that corner.
Oh, to like as an
Yeah.
alert.
So I won't tell you what she does, but she has to be at work for 7, and so I started standing out there and putting my camera in my car. Sure enough, you can hear her coming down the hill. Now, thank God I'm already up, but so I never knew what she looked like up close. And the other day we were going up the hill.
Don't
And
tell
we
me it's a stereotypical.
Yes, you had the Karen Bob and everything, man.
And apologies to any non-Karens
Yeah.
out there. You know,
Yeah, no, this is we hate to label anybody, but there is such a thing.
I had a lady come into my work wearing a T-shirt that said "One of the cool Karens." Like, I loved it.
Yeah,
Like, wait.
as long as it was true.
Well, she was awesome. She
you have
was
to
super-
vet her first.
Yeah.
There's,
No,
there's a
she
vetting
was awesome.
process.
She was super sweet. She came up. She was friendly and smiling. She was just great.
Like
So-
pop quiz, cashier gives you, 3 cents short of your change. What do you do?
No.
And you're like, wait a minute.
Um,
God forbid you throw in a nickel or
Yeah.
a dime into that. You're like, oh my God.
politely tell them, and then tell them to put the 3 cents in the penny jar.
Like, I don't know. I thought that was kind of sweet.
That is.
She had the
She
kind
embraced
of
the stereotype.
Yeah, and she made it her own in a positive way. I thought that was really awesome, and I thought it said a lot about her character.
Yeah,
So, all joking aside about the whole Karen thing, it's a thing.
it is.
Like, that name, no one's going to name
Oh,
their
it's-
kid that.
yeah.
for
Now,
the
what is it
next,
for
like,
guys?
20 years.
I don't know.
Because we want to be fair in the
Chad.
podcast.
Is
Is it Chad?
Is
I
it
thought
Chad?
it was Chad.
Chad's kind of like the douchebag, I think. You know,
Chad.
Maybe not. I feel
Shotgun.
like people are going to comment, and they're going to be like,
that's
no.
fine. Apology to any
Kevin?
non-Chad
Maybe-
Chads out there.
Maybe it was Kevin.
And there's definitely Kyle. But that's
Oh yeah, is
Yeah.
it Kyle? It might be
I feel
Kyle.
like
well, Kyle's like the drinking
like-
monsters and punching sheetrock walls. That's,
Yeah.
That's Kyle. You monster and
Well, I feel like it was a K
Riding
name
quads.
because they had like K for Karen.
yeah, so
I
I
feel
think
like
you-
it was
yeah, I
definitely
think
a
I feel
K
like-
name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe Kevin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can work with both of them. It all depends on what they're doing. you
Yeah.
know?
If you know, leave in the comments.
That's right. We're waiting for some hate mail. We did get a little bit of hate mail only one time. That was for Jeff Verteber.
I think you told me that. Yeah.
That guy was hammering on him. But Jeff was right. Jeff had facts, and the guy was purely
I know.
emotional.
I'm waiting for like someone to challenge something I say because I come up with all kinds of random stuff, and not that I'm making it up, but I'm not 100% sure half the time. Like I think I read it somewhere, but I might have just made that number up or whatever.
They're all like me. I just go, that sounds good.
In my experience, you are generally pretty trustworthy, and anything that you've been wrong about has been a genuine, like, goof up. So
Yeah. Usually I try just to not talk about something if I don't know it. Like I'll just keep completely quiet. Like unless
Yeah.
I feel like
Oh, you've been pretty honest about that.
Yeah.
Like, there's no like gray area. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about,
Yep.
So,
and I'll never argue if
Yeah.
I don't 100% know the facts.
yeah.
And that's my wife actually keeps score because I think I'm at like in close to we're about 20 years together now, and I think she's up to 4 times or 5 times that I've been proven wrong.
Wow.
I know the
Wow.
feeling. I'm married to one of them as well.
The problem is you guys don't forget. My wife will bring up stuff from like 23 years ago, and I'm like, really? But I don't. Listen, okay. So I'm no angel, okay. But there's been a few times where I bring up some, like I brought up something today or yesterday, one of the two, and she looked at me. I'm like, I never should have said that. My bad.
So I am the opposite. I forget everything.
Do you really?
Everything. Even my kids know it. Like,
Do you ever forget their kids' names?
My daughter will, no, not like that,
That's
but
important.
like I forget everything. my daughter's like, hey, by the way, don't forget I had this thing. She had a tooth that was hurting. Like sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's not. Like her tooth was hurting and I completely forgot for like a week.
Oh,
She's like, Mom, my tooth. And I'm like,
She worked for me for several years. I can definitely attest to the fact that yes.
But on the other hand, it will be like my husband will ask me I'll tell him, hey, don't forget I told you that we were going to see my mother. And he'll go, no, you didn't. I'm like, I absolutely did. You were walking in from the garage into the kitchen looking for your tool when I reminded you the first time. It was a Sunday and you were wearing jeans.
Yeah, I do that, and that doesn't go over well.
too specific.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
I was right
Yeah.
is the thing. Like, I can't remember if I ate lunch yesterday, but I remembered that everything I remembered where he was going, what he was doing, and what he was wearing when I told him, and I had a text message to prove it. That's the only
backed it up
reason.
with a text.
That's the only reason
Drop the mic.
that he believed me, because I forget everything. So when I actually am right and I do remember stuff, no one believes me.
Yeah,
And I can't even
one
be mad.
time, and I had every detail.
Yeah, and I can't even be
Wearing a
mad.
blue and red checkered shirt.
She goes, now I write everything down.
I do have a keep list in Google.
It's on microfiche.
for times he's actually wrong. So I do have a list. There's only like 5 things on it. We've been together 12 years.
We don't have a real list, but I think she secretly keeps count. My wife, I think.
Oh, there's a mental list. She has that secret drawer
Yeah.
where the drawer, the bottom comes out of it, and there's an old piece of paper. And she just, with a feather pen, just writes down.
She's like, I was right today.
I have to have a list because I forget everything.
I'm definitely more absent-minded in my old age. I used to just constantly, it was a calendar, it was a clock, it was everything. My brain just worked what I felt was flawlessly, and didn't need any type of organizational materials. But now, like, I need like daily reminders of like to breathe sometimes.
Yeah.
It's so weird, and I don't know. I don't know if it's just old age or if I'm just my brain, especially in this last year, like not getting a lot of, stimulation outside the house. I think I don't know if I'm just like my brain's decaying or something, but it feels out of shape and I'm forgetting shit constantly.
May 29th, our governor just opened up the state.
I saw that.
What could go wrong with doing that?
I mean, I don't usually like to use Florida as a positive example. I don't think anybody does, especially not, clickbait and news stories, but they've kind of, every decision that they've made, in relation to a lot of this, I thought they were kind of jumping the gun. But it hasn't been
that big of a
horrible
deal,
from
right?
what I know.
Yeah.
Not that I monitor it closely, but it's definitely not in the headlines.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe it is the right time. I guess time will tell. But I'm not an expert, so
No, I just I'm glad to be able to go out and about. So now that you're on the show, and again, thank you very much for coming on. But I want to bring up something that's been plaguing the podcast for quite some time now, is people's fear of coming on the podcast. And the major thing that we hear is that person says, I don't have anything interesting to say. And we always say, that's bullshit, right? Because everybody's interesting in their own way. Everybody has something very interesting. And that's why we ask people to come on, is because you'd be surprised during that conversation where all of a sudden we have the aha moment and we're like, okay, tell us more about that. So, from the time that you started watching the podcast and we reached out, and I don't know who reached out first. Was it me or him? I don't know who, or you reached out first?
I think you might.
Yeah, you reached out.
I think you shot me a text message. You're like, oh, I saw your thing. And I think she said she knew, how she knew you.
Posted the video he was in, and I was like, hey, that's my friend Brett. I'm like, I love Brett. So I messaged him. I was like, hey, I saw you on the podcast. And he's like, hey, you should come on. And I'm like, no one's going to want to listen to me talk. People are always telling me to shut up.
I mean, my biggest thing has always been, what I usually tell people is, like, if you can hold a conversation for an hour or two, then you're the perfect guest, because it's all we, really do. It's not like, oh, I invited you to come on because, we want you to talk about this one specific thing. Like, if you have something you want to talk about, it's, we try to incorporate that in, because usually it's something you're passionate about or you live it every day. But it really just, in every way, shape, and form goes completely organic, and sometimes we have to reel it back in to actually even stay
You were like, what are we just
on
talking
a certain
about? Like,
subject.
I
It's
don't
like,
know.
is this a weekday? You know, so it's.
I know you've had a lot of small business owners on here. Like I saw Tony was
Yep.
on
Yep.
here too. Hey, shout out Tony. I don't know if he remembers me or not, but I remember him.
He was a great guest. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. Like any interactions I ever had with him were solid.
Yeah, fantastic guy.
So it's funny. So it's people don't realize how small this world really is, and
Well, it's just Brett knows everybody.
I know. Oh,
7 degrees of Kevin Bacon,
Bacon,
and
yeah.
7 degrees of Brett Dumas.
no, it's Tony was the one
6
you
degrees.
yeah.
could. So Tony's the one you would talk about with that. It's like 3 degrees of Tony Shooks. Like,
Yeah.
that guy knows everybody.
Well, on his way home,
Mm.
he friend requested me on Facebook. So of course, I always like to see who we have for mutual friends. And my sister, it comes up as his mutual friend. So I don't know how I did it, but I must have hit photos or something like that. And the first picture that comes up is him and my sister. So I text her. I'm like, how do you know Tony? She's like, oh my God, it's like my best friend. I'm like, what? So I texted him. I'm like, hey, you know my sister? And he's like, how do you know her? I'm like, well, that's my sister. And he's like, what a small world, you know? And it really is. It is a super, super small world. So tell the audience like how you broke through that fear of like, I don't have anything interesting to say. And now that you're here, because I think the audience would love to hear like what it's like to finally say, I'm going to go and get through that.
It was easy because I know you guys. So that was a little easier. I didn't have to worry about any icebreakers. It wasn't like a job interview.
Right.
So you guys kind of knew what you were getting yourselves into. I gave you a week to back out. That's all I'm saying.
We're not scared. Absolutely not.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
'Cause,
I think that was my thing too. Like, I don't think I would have just went on any random thing, you know, like I did it because, to support you. Cause I know, getting it up and running and, you had some guests backing out and I was like, well, just give me a ring. And like, if I didn't know you guys, there was no way I would be on here,
I'm
and
still
now,
fascinated by that. I've never, and I'll say it a million times. I never knew you as an introvert, and then you say all those things and
yeah, it's, again, it's cool. It's kind of like the little self-discovery you were talking about with the ADHD, which, well, everybody else knew. I guess nobody else knew I was an introvert.
I mean, self-diagnosed. I'm just saying.
I think I was forced to put myself out there so often, and I might not have been, I don't think I was especially outgoing like in high school and everything like that, but I was kind of, just moderate. But the more I had to force myself to get out there when I got into retail, it like just exhausted any desire to do so.
Yeah.
So like, I wouldn't say maybe I was that way the whole time. I think I always considered myself shy. And maybe that's just because that's what the word was for it, back then.
Right.
But then, as I got into retail, because when I got into retail, like I came in strong. Like I was like, yeah, I'm like a rock star salesperson. Now I'm a rock star sales manager. And then eventually I'm just like, man, I really hate talking to people. Like I'm kind of
And I
kind of
need a
getting
new
tired
ops
of this.
manager. I'm going to hire someone that I know loves talking to people.
See?
You
Isn't
can't
that what I
shut
told
her
you?
up.
So the audience doesn't know, but Brett and Elizabeth used to work together. And,
Long time,
yeah.
like 7.5 years.
Yeah,
Yep.
was it that long?
Was
Yeah.
it that long?
Wow, I
Oh,
put up
wow.
for that long. Wow. I would have said like 4. But you're right.
No.
It seems like it's at least 15.
I was with TSA for 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and I know I told you, I think it was off camera last week when you said that Liz would be on, but that like her personality was one of the main reasons why I thought of her, because I knew where I stood and where my opportunities were, and it was that intensity and energy, and because how I'm talking right now is how I always talk, regardless of how angry or sad or whatever, except for maybe a few brief moments of yelling at Liz. But I needed someone to kind of put my feelings out there, I guess, and amplify some things and show some emotion, because I don't necessarily do that all the time.
It was nice to have those moments, though, because you didn't ever do that on the sales floor. It would be like a moment. It made it easier. It made the hard days easier because of the rapport that we had, where, what person gets to pull their store manager, their direct supervisor off the sales floor and yell at him and be crying and yelling and have them not be like, get out of here. In a way, it kind of was bad for me because I get a familiarity with the people I work with. You know, that friendship, that mutual respect there. So like, it was cool that you knew that I could compartmentalize, where you let me get out my frustration, and then we were cool. I'd go back out to the floor and it was fine. And nobody out on the sales floor was any of the wiser. It was nice. I'm not going to lie. As tough as it was working for you sometimes, I miss it. I call me crazy.
Did I make you better?
You did.
See,
Well,
best compliment ever for a manager.
You know, that's a hard thing to try to get through to. But
actually, hold on. I'm going to
go
put you on pause because she had a well.
yeah, go ahead.
you didn't make me the best, but you definitely made me better. So I don't want to give you like all the credit.
We'll never be the best. No one will ever be the best. So
If you were the best, you would have called me out with my ADHD like way back in the day instead of telling me today that you knew the whole time.
Well, you probably did, just
pretty-
in a very subtle way.
No.
Okay, we're going to change the subject. Jeff, what you're saying?
Like, calm down, Liz.
Oh,
It's hard as store managers. I always found it very difficult to, especially with your assistant managers, because you knew the next step was going to be in your shoes, and you tried to make sure that they were ready in all aspects, because the failure rate for store managers, especially when I was at Michael's, our failure rate was over 60%. So it was very important to let them know that this isn't always going to be fun. It's long hours and those kind of things. And so if I was going to sign off on that person to become a store manager, I wanted to make sure that they had all the tools in their toolbox. And it wasn't an easy gig. And a lot of times, if I didn't have the right assistant manager, it was a struggle, because in their mind, they were ready yesterday. And then when they finally get them in their own store, that's when you got to see if they were really ready. And then I tried to do damage control for a little while. So that's a tough thing. It always comes from a place of nurturing. And then, some people don't always take it.
No, for sure. There's definitely nurturing there, 100%. But some people are Batman and some people are Robin. I'm okay being Robin. I would rather be Robin.
yeah, you never wanted my job.
I never. And
Never even pretended to want my
So
job.
straight up, I
And
can
then,
appreciate that honesty.
When I a lot of it's about trust too. So, as she became, the more senior manager, like if I was on vacation or whatever, like she'd become, the acting store manager. And, even like after a week, she's like, or not even, I'd be getting texts like 3 days, 2 days in. I don't ever want this job. Like I don't know how you do this.
never allowed to leave me ever again. And then he hired Dan, and it was a relief. And Kelvin, oh man.
Yeah, I hired a couple, really strong
Really,
players.
really
well, Dan Martin was my
strong.
ops manager for a while.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sports Authority, yeah. And then now I hired, another superstar. Well, actually, he was before Dan, but Kelvin Rivera. Shout out to Kelvin, wherever you are.
He was at AT&T in Enfield
Yeah.
not too long ago.
Guy, he was a Circuit City guy like I was. I think I might have knew him when he started, but he never worked for me. But I heard nothing but great things about him. And man,
Such a decent guy.
absolute superstar,
Real
man.
decent guy. He's honest and he's hardworking. He's not he's a really, really nice
Dude
guy. I
made
can't
my
say enough
job.
nice things
Yeah.
about him.
Made my job
Whoever's-
so easy.
Yep.
Whoever's got him now,
Yeah,
I hope they're paying him well because he knows his stuff. He's a good guy.
yeah. One of the best trainers I've ever had work for me. Like one of the most passionate salespeople. Guy's just amazing. Like if I was in any other supervisory capacity, going forward, I'd be like trying to hunt him down
Yeah.
because he's good.
I'll never forget, I had a guy, I opened a new store in Avon, Connecticut. And, being a new store, you put in some hours. And we did round the clock. I would sleep in my car sometimes. We had 30 days to open up the store. And we had a lot of struggles. Back then, Big Y was paying like $10 an hour. This is back in 2000, mind you. Big Y was paying, in Avon, Connecticut, was paying $10 a bag groceries.
I was still in high school.
Are you really?
In
And we-
2000?
Yeah, I graduated in 01.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm old. I
You guys
guess.
are old.
Yeah. God, I feel old now. Jesus Christ. All right, we're done with the podcast now. Thanks.
Yeah. If you can figure out how to
Yeah.
turn this newfangled thing
I'm
off.
going to go hang myself in the other part of the basement now.
Getting off your lawn.
And so it came time to I think it was my zone vice president called me and he's like, hey, I'm going to be in your store tomorrow. So I'm like, okay. You know, we weren't that bad looking, but we had some stuff that we had to tighten up. And I said to my assistant, we're going to have to stay a couple extra hours. And he goes, I'm not staying. And I said, he was supposed to be on the fast track because I had a DM that had zero integrity and zero anything else. He was a complete scumbag. And I came from the shoe business before that, but I came from big box before that. And he would always make fun of me about the shoes. We'd be doing a tour, and he goes, "Oh, that must be the shoes. You're confused." You know, at first I thought he was just like busting me, but it turned out
we kind of had a guy like that too.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was literally just thinking the same thing.
It turned out to be he was being 100% serious, and so we were only hiring $5.75 an hour. That's all I could do. So imagine the struggles when they can go down the street for another almost $5 an hour more
in bag groceries.
So no thought involved whatsoever. So we get the store set up, and this guy says, I'm not staying. I'm like, well, you got two choices, man. You can leave, or and if you do, leave, throw your keys on my desk, because I'm not tolerating that. You're on the fast track. I hate that word. And I said, so when he comes here, he's gonna want to sit down with you. He's gonna want to have that conversation, because I'm gonna make him have that conversation with you to give you the attention. It's not about me when he comes here now. It's about you. I'm already a store manager, so my next goal is to get you to the next level. He goes, I'm not staying. You can have that conversation when I'm not here. I'm like, are you serious about doing this or not? And he left. I'm like, okay. He took his keys with him, though. And so I called my DM. He went absolute bullshit on me. Told me, wait till he talks to me the next day. I'm like, okay, do what you got to do, man. So he comes in with my zone vice president, and we had a great tour. And the zone BP goes, where's your assistant manager? Did he not think it was important enough to be here? And I go, oh, he didn't think it was important. And just as I said that, my DM pulls me to the side and looks at my other guy and says, I gave him the day off. He had a family thing he had to take care of. And my blood started boiling. I'm like, now I worked in retail back when if you left, you were done.
Yeah.
That was it. You remember the back in those days.
And you never miss an upper management visit.
Absolutely not.
Never.
And I only asked the guy to stay
even if sorry, that's your usual day off. You're working 6 days this week.
Right.
Yeah.
Congratulations to 70
we'll
hours.
Owe you later.
Yeah. I remember going in for a DM visit with my kid in my arm because I didn't have any. Like it was my day off, and yeah. But yeah, you don't miss it.
No. And so he came back the next day, and I told him, I said, you're not coming in this door. You can go to work down the street at the other store. You're not coming here. And then he ended up quitting. And so years down the road, I'm at Cabela's in Connecticut, and I hear his voice outside. I'm like, that's got to be him. And I realized that he's working inside, he had a food booth. So I know that I was justified in what I said. So I went up to him because I hate that weirdness. And he looked at me and he recognized me right away. And there was definitely the weirdness, you know? And I said, hey, what's going on? He goes, hey, I got to talk to you. So he's finished with his customers. He came out and he goes, listen, you know, you basically fired me. I go, well, I didn't fire you, quit, just for the record. And he goes, it was the best thing you ever did to me. I said, really? He goes, I did, because I struggled my next 2 jobs because I always thought I was supposed to be in that position without working for it. Because somebody promised me something, and in my head I got all these thoughts, and here you come saying, whoa, slow down. We're going to get there. These are the steps that we take to get there. And you weren't willing to put the work in. And he goes, I totally got it. Now I own my own business for what he had for years. Yep. He goes, I have to hire people, and I get it, because now I have to promote people, and it's not because they say I'm this. He goes, I have to make sure that when I'm not here, things are getting done. Yeah. I'm not getting ripped off, like all these things. He goes, I didn't understand that until I started working here or started running my own business. He goes, so I just want to say thank you. So then fast forward a little bit. We're talking like another 5 years down the road. I started doing the Chicopee Festival, and who's the booth next to me? Tim. Huh. So I saw his truck the minute I pulled in, and I'm like, and I actually looked forward to talking to him, like, you know. So he saw me pull up, and he runs out and he grabs a couple beers and we reminisced. And he was a really good guy. I got to give him credit. Like, we had a lot of laughs when we were opening up the store. But when it came time for that dedication and that, that drive,
Yeah.
you have it or you don't. And I shouldn't have had to tell him that he had to stay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in talking about people with like different energies, I think that's a marriage, and when it's good, it works really good. I had some assistants that weren't like me, but we complemented each other very well,
I feel like ours was not like a work husband, work wife situation. It was like
We were
siblings.
brother and sister,
It
yeah.
felt much more
Yeah.
like a sibling rivalry than anything. Like, he's my big brother, so I have to do what he said, and I'm just the bratty little sister who has
Yep.
to do what she's told. I mean, the dynamic is basically the same.
Too bad you didn't bring a yearly review from her. We could have gone over that while we're here.
Oh, I always give good
No,
reviews.
always gave me good reviews.
Did he really?
Yes.
Yep.
Any real criticisms he would save for when it was just the two of us. Like, he'd be like, listen, I did this and this and this because I recognize that you're A, B, and C. You really need to start working on this, though. I didn't put it in there, but just know that
Yeah.
this is something you have to work on.
And feedback was always real time. Like, I don't wait for, quarterly, monthly, whatever. Like, no, there's a problem. We're going to talk about this.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
There was one time I remember you actually pulled me off the sales floor. I feel like it was just once, and it just now came to me.
Oh, you
'Cause-
said something to me, and I was like, "You need to go back to the office right
Yeah,
now." I don't
you
remember
were
what it
like,
was, but
Liz, you were like, Liz,
there was
right
steam
now.
coming out of my ears
Oh,
because
no
of what
kidding.
something she said in front of like several employees.
It was.
Yeah.
It was that. Look at me. I'm getting tense, and I don't even remember what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was.
We're going to
that
shine
was,
the light.
that was the first time that ever really happened. He has been very understanding because I can be kind of passionate. Like, I don't mean to say, "Hey, calm down." I am calm. I'm
Right.
just enthusiastic.
Yeah, no, there was definitely one time where I was like, "You need to get."
Yeah, I don't
to my
remember what he
office
probably
right now.
he was probably holding me accountable for something, and
Yeah.
it was in front of other people because you used to do that. Like, hey, like he would use. He kind of used me as an example, like lead by example. So if he saw that I did something wrong, he would use that as a teachable moment for everybody else, and didn't necessarily mean it as like he was singling me out. But I was a lead, and then I was, I was a manager, I was ops, I was wearing a lot of hats.
She did a bunch of things.
At
she,
one-
she was in like 4 or 5 different positions in her time.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I feel like it was more like I was a training video, which could be frustrating for me sometimes. Like, I don't always want to be the one that is showing other people how to, what not to do.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what it was. I feel like you called me out for something. I was wrong, and I responded poorly.
There was a time when I was young, and it's funny because the company I work for now, when I was working for Leechmere, she was my store manager. I was about 21, 22 years old, and of course you couldn't tell me nothing from nothing. I was into partying back then, and doing my thing. I was not into constructive criticism, and I think it took me a little while. I was a hard worker. I always showed up. I didn't call out sick. I was a team player. But when it came time for constructive criticism, you couldn't tell me anything. I was very, very difficult to do that.
Tears.
Yeah.
There was always tears.
I didn't cry, but
I did.
I wanted to
Yeah.
deep inside. I wanted
It's
to.
crying on the inside.
Yeah.
I'm very sensitive.
And when I finally learned to have constructive criticism, I changed. And Leechmere was gone at the time. I worked for a couple of guys that really kind of showed me, listen, you got to shut up every now and then and listen. You know what I mean? And when we tell you something, it's it's not because we just want to hear yourselves talk. And when I started to learn that and I started to understand what I was doing wrong, I made me do a lot of things so much better. So those conversations were less and less and less, And so fast forward now, I'm working for this company. I'm playing on my phone one day and I look on Instagram because I'm going to Florida. And I always like to go to some of the stores that we own. And I look down, I see this person. I'm like, no way. Like, I gave her a lot of shit. I really did. And I reached out to her. And she's like, yeah, I'll be down there. So I talked to her, and she's like, I really don't remember you. And I'm like, yes. But I told her, I said, and I was talking to my boss, currently I have now, I said, I wasn't very coachable back then. And, my boss now says I'm very coachable. But I think that's something that I think people have to kind of really get behind. It's okay to be coached.
Yeah, I mean, when I first became a manager, I was nothing but combative. Like, you tried telling me that like my department didn't look right. I wasn't listening to what you saw was wrong. I was telling you why I was right.
Right.
It took a long time because I took so much pride in everything I did.
Yeah.
That you couldn't tell me, well, listen, I was trying to make you better. You couldn't tell me that my department looked like shit. I'm like, no. And I did everything I was supposed to. And one time, like, it took a store manager who I really admired, and he pulled me aside, and like I was like mid argument with like my DM, and he's like, I need to talk to you. And he's like, you wonder why you're not a store manager yet? Why you've been like, you're the best store manager, but you've been or the sales manager, but you've been a sales manager the longest.
Yeah.
He's like, because I know how, like, we can talk. He's like, but I talk to this guy, the DM, every day. Do you think he wants to deal with this every day? He's like, you know how to take this from me, but you can't take it from him. I'm like, what if he had to start talking to you tomorrow as a store manager?
Right.
He doesn't want to deal with this. Look how pissed off he is. And it still took me another year
Sure.
to like just swallow it, take it in, filter through it, and maybe even ask for more of it.
Sure.
But now, like, I mean, I spent an hour on my phone with my boss today. Like, it was like a monthly check-in, and I was like, just tell me what I need, how can I get better?
Yeah.
Like, give it to me. Where do I suck?
Right.
Because I want to be better. Like, now I'm asking for it. And it's, maybe my delivery wasn't always great, to some of the people that have worked with and for me. Especially when you have to feel like you have to say it all the time, like,
I forget things very
Yeah.
easily.
But no, I've had people that I've fired and I've like outright just because of, they were horrible employees, and I've caught up with them and they've thanked me,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what do you mean?
It's amazing.
And they're just like, you straightened me out. Like, right after you did that and you made it very clear why it was happening. This is where I went, and I took everything you told me, even the stuff that I ignored for, whatever length of time it was between when it was a problem and when you fired me. And I took all that. It took losing my job to figure it out, but now I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, I had one time I was, looking to change careers, several years ago, and the guy who called me was a guy who I fired, and he was like one of the HR managers at this other company. He was like, do you remember me? And he gave me his name, and I'm like, well, I remember someone by that name, but not anybody that would be an HR manager, And that's when he's just like, he's like, I'm only here because of you.
You'll have to tell me who it is.
Yeah, it wouldn't be anyone It's
okay.
like before
that?
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's wild, and it's like I said, when I asked Liz about, if I helped her get better, it's the biggest compliment ever, whether it was in adverse conditions or not. That's the biggest compliment I can get ever, is that I helped someone get better.
Yeah.
But a friendship was forged as well.
And
so
I
feel like you can't have it all. So you may not have made me like the best I could be. Really, you probably should have fired me. If you really wanted to make me the best, you probably should have fired me. But you didn't, because I'm adorable. So you kept me around for a little while.
I tolerated you.
But I'm also friends with your lovely wife,
You are?
who I adore with my entire soul, and your children, and the adventures that you bring them on. Like, I'm happy to know you. So if I got anything out of that, really, at the end of the day, I got to know you, and I'm pretty sweet about that. But I'm done saying nice things about Brad now.
I was going to say, you don't have to kiss his ass anymore.
I know.
You're
I've
not
never
working
got,
for
like,
him, but
yeah,
this is
you don't even work for me anymore.
We're in a pandemic. I don't get out much.
I don't either. Well, actually, I do, but not in the places I want to go. But it's.
I don't have any friends.
Yeah, you do. You have us. That's all you need.
Yeah. And the 200 viewers watching us.
That's right.
Is it really 200?
Well,
there's
it's 108 that actually
subscribers.
subscribed. That's
or was it 108? Was that what it was?
108. Yeah.
We
It's
broke
a-
100 subscribers.
It's a really
so-
weird thing. Like we have a lot of views, right? But not a lot of people that will actually subscribe. I don't know where that disconnect happens from. But one thing I promised myself when I did this is I don't really care about that. I just care about throwing content out. I care about being honest on the podcast, and just doing my thing, you know, and I got great people to share it with. You know, like when Brett came on, that was great. He filled in a spot, and then all of a sudden one day I said, hey, if you ever want to come and hang out, we have an extra seat. He's like, I'm in. And then he showed up, and then come to find out one day Matt couldn't make it, so he jumps in the captain's chair, you know, and he's my co-pilot. So, you know, this podcast is kind of morphed into a bunch of different things, and all positive for me. I mean, I learned I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan. And one thing he says that he never does, he never looks at the comments, although I do go in there a little bit. We've had a little bit of hate mail, but it wasn't directed towards me. It was directed towards someone else, but eventually it'll be at me. And you just have to forget all that stuff and just say, this is my thing. If anybody else thinks they can do it better, then go ahead and start your own podcast. You know, it's not easy to start one. I mean, it kind of is, I guess. You just have to learn. If you're not tech savvy, it took me a while. Like we had a problem today, but I figured it out.
Yep.
You know, I think my job actually helps me be a little more tech savvy because I work remotely. So you have to be, you know, but the podcast is open for anybody that wants to come on. I think we made it very, very clear, especially when we have a difference of opinion. You're definitely able to come on and talk about that opinion.
I will say this is a fantastic medium for having those actual conversations. Like, I'm not saying that I necessarily want to have hot button conversations, but I'm certain that there are people that want to talk about these things actively, and you just can't in Facebook posts. It takes forever to type responses, and then you got to worry about whether or not you can understand it. And it's just, by the time you're done, you're just like, forget it. I just don't have the energy. You need to, it's nuanced. You miss it.
No, that's why I just have completely removed myself from commenting on just about anything on Facebook, because it's, you know, it's never interpreted correctly. You know, like even insults, like people don't get it. Like, and I'm like, no, do you realize what I just said about you? You know, do you want me to keep it under 2 syllables?
By the way, can I just interrupt for 1 second? That watch,
Yeah.
you know me, I'm a big watch guy. What are you wearing?
That is a big watch.
So it's just a Samsung Fit watch or whatever, but it's customizable faces. So I can change that to, like, I downloaded that a couple weeks ago.
Did you really?
Yeah, and I mean, I can give you a demo right now if you really want to see.
Off air, but we'll
Okay.
I want to get into that.
I can change the face. You'd be amazed. Like,
I love it.
what you can, and it's a smartwatch. So, like, you know, text messages and fitness. Can
you talk through it too?
I haven't tried that, but I probably could. I guess I got it because I know we talked about the whole doctor and weight loss thing, and my first appointment with him, he's like, you need to get some, like a Fitbit or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I don't want just like, if I'm going to put something on my wrist, I want it to be like fully functional.
Yeah.
Like I avoided smartwatches and everything for a long time because I didn't want to be plugged in so much.
Yeah.
But I can just choose when it sends pushes to it so I can be bothered or not. But more importantly, I can track my steps and my calories and stuff like that. But yeah, it's super cool. It really is. I mean, I'll show you.
It's been catching my eye.
Because like when I move it,
I'm like a fish in a bowl. Like that's shiny.
Does it have the tickety talk?
This one doesn't. It's digital, but it has all kinds of. We'll show it later. There's a lot going on there.
Are you into technology?
Not really. I just made a really bad joke about the tickety talk. So,
yeah.
No.
Is that the tickety talk thing?
Like when you go to the Starbucks, can I have that pinky drinky?
Yeah. I'm admittedly like, you know, amateur tech nerd. I mean, but
me too.
That just goes into my desire to have to, or appetite to just know something about everything, you know?
Yeah.
I dabble as much as possible into just about everything, and technology is one of them. You know, if it's new and shiny and is the newest thing, I'll usually, you know, buy it or at least research it. And
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, I need to buy a TV for our room so we can watch TV before we go to bed. And like I'm obsessing because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go there for the 32-inch that I can put on the top of my bureau, and I'm going to walk out with a 90-inch for the living room and nothing for the bedroom. That's how I am. Like,
that happened in my house.
You just take
Did it really?
You buy the bigger one for the living room, take the one out of the living room, put it in the
that's
bedroom.
what'll end up happening, but I don't know if I can fit that. I think it might be too big.
That happened. We have a giant TV in my living room.
What size? Because size matters in TVs.
It does. 65.
Oh,
I
that's
think.
nothing. It's nothing.
Like,
It's
it's
Bush
respectable.
League. Bush
It's
League.
respectable,
It
but
is.
it's big.
a friend of mine just got a 90-inch flat screen, and
Okay,
it's
that's
beautiful.
huge. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I did catch him looking at them the other night. It may have been a new monitor. I think it was a new monitor. I've got like 5 of them. I don't know.
They're so cheap. Like
Yeah,
you go to
it's-
Walmart, and I'm like, when did this happen?
Oh yeah.
You know what I
It's
mean? Like, I can remember the first big screen we bought. We bought this house 14 years ago. We plug our new TV or our TV in.
let me do the math. 14, 2015. Okay.
Yeah.
Trying to figure
No.
put it in technology terms. Like
Well, 2007 we moved in here.
15. Yeah, that's good math. That's yep.
Yep. So
What
I
did say?
take my TV out, and I'm pretty sure it was a tube TV. I'm gonna go on a limb and say it probably was.
For projection,
Negative for me. I wasn't a big fan of those.
we had one.
Yeah.
The big TV replaced it.
Yeah, we had one for a while too.
Yeah.
So what'd you end up with? And when you moved in,
I think it was a 42-inch
was it like a DLP? It might have been back then, like LED
plasma. It was a plasma.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a plasma.
So that wasn't cheap then.
No, it wasn't cheap. I think
Plasmas were always expensive.
I think we paid like under $1,000 for it.
Yeah, that's around that, because I think the first ones came out probably early 2000s and they were like 10 grand. Like
And that thing lasted me for like 13 years.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
We have a 32-inch in our bedroom, and I feel like his computer monitor is also that big.
that's a normal size computer monitor, because he's a gamer, right?
He
Yeah.
is. He had a triple.
What does he play?
I don't know.
We need
I
to-
don't
We need to know
know.
these things.
Roller Coaster Tycoon, probably. Yeah.
I know he plays D&D on Saturday nights with his friends.
Yeah.
That he plays online, and he's got like an actual thing that he like rolls the
You
dice.
hear that,
into.
D&D players? There is hope. He's
Yep.
married.
Yep.
All of his friends that he plays with are married except for like one. I'm just saying.
What's his name?
My husband,
Yeah.
Chris.
Chris. We'll have to shout out to Chris.
Shout out to Chris.
Yep.
He's never gonna watch this. I'm
No?
gonna tell him. I guarantee you. I'm gonna be like, "Babe, you're gonna watch it." And he's gonna be like, "Yeah, sure." And he's not gonna.
Post it on Reddit. He'll see it.
Yeah.
No. No.
Is it Reddit off limits for him?
No, I'm familiar with Reddit. I'd prefer my face not be anywhere on Reddit.
All right, it's going on then.
Oh my god.
Consider it done.
No. Reddit.
I knew she's a Reddit person, so
Oh,
that's why I
yeah.
said it.
No.
The bowels of Reddit.
Yeah. They do have our awe. That's cute.
What is it?
Awe. It's just a AWW.
Yeah, R is the.
So just for the
Yeah.
record, I don't
Yeah.
go on Reddit.
Oh, Reddit.
yeah.
R is.
It's a
this-
wormhole, dude. Don't
Yeah,
do
that's
it.
why I went down there once and I never
It's
went back.
basically just a whole bunch of cute animal pictures.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. That's all. I was
It's
going through
super
my phone
adorable.
all the time. It's what I do for work and dogs and my cats.
Yeah, if you have like a niche that you want to look at, it's on Reddit and it's its own subcategory, and it's a disaster. Not a disaster, but it's a horrible wormhole, because you'll just always be there. Like I went down that wormhole once or twice. I had the app on my phone once or twice, and I'm like, it's a bigger time waster
Than TikTok?
than
In Wikipedia.
no. It's probably. TikTok's an interesting one because it's the video form of Reddit, I feel. Because,
Gotcha.
but I would say it's even worse because the algorithm will continually funnel things that, just like Facebook, especially ads and certain posts and Instagram, ads and posts, combine your viewing activity and then kind of funnel ads towards you. TikTok does that in videos, but a lot of it's user content videos and not just paid ads. So then you're stuck in a nasty, wormhole of, like I like woodworking, when Dan was here, we talked a little about woodworking, but, especially like the epoxy pours. And I think we touched on that a little bit.
That stuff. I can watch it all day.
It's super satisfying and I love seeing the finished result. So like I look at a couple of epoxy pours and it's like, and this is the funny thing, I'm only on TikTok because of, to support my son. And I like and share his videos for his business. But I do browse and those are what I go for. So now like the For You page, which is like what you see in your first open app, it's always like these epoxy pours and they're super satisfying. Even if if you're not into it, it's like, oh, it's just really
Amazing.
cool. Or different like fancy woodworking videos. Like I love that shit.
Lawn care is a really good one too, where like They've got this British dude that goes and tames like backyard gardens. So he'll go and he'll mow grass that's like 12 inches tall, and he'll trim back everything. And it's like power washing is also very satisfying to watch.
Yeah, I think where Reddit wins is just watching the interactions between Reddit users.
Oh yeah, it's a
because
shit show. Yeah.
between memes and just comments and just general insults that are accepted as compliments, and like that, just the rhetoric around like how people talk to each other on Reddit is just something to be seen. And like I read it and I'm just like, oh my god, this is a bunch of me and a bunch of my friends in a room together after a bunch of beers. Like this is all shit that I say.
Relationship advice.
Yeah.
Their comments are always gold.
So they're both equally dangerous. I think, I think TikTok is just from like a visual stimulation. It's just like, we're going to pull you down and we're just going to keep showing you shit that we know you want to see because we figured that out.
Yeah.
And Reddit's like, okay, we're going to put you're going to find this category that it's something you're into, and you're going to stay here just to read what everybody else is saying. And you may or may not add to it.
So what do you do for fun? What's your extracurricular?
Extracurricular. I don't know. I'm in customer service. By the time I get home, I just want to shut down and I don't want anybody to talk to me.
Let's do a customer service voice. Like, ready?
Oh no. Do you really want me to? Because I will.
Let's do some role playing.
It
Want to do that?
It freaks my husband out.
Does
Are
it
you
really?
sure?
Yeah, I don't know
It's
if I'm ready
bad.
for this. It's been a while.
Do I have? I don't know if I have a thing here. I don't think. No, I don't have it. I'll have to get a ring one.
Oh,
like
a phone. Yeah. Okay.
So ready?
Hang on.
Ring.
I need like a business name.
No.
Like I need something to answer if I'm answering the phone.
Just say it's just
Whatever.
a sports
Just
authority.
whatever,
I mean,
yeah.
they
All right. Well, it's defunct now.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So I can. Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Oh,
Ring.
Always wait
Ring,
2
ring.
rings.
never passed to.
2 rings.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you for calling Sports Authority. This is Liz. How may I help you?
Hi, Liz. My name's Jeff. I have a question for you.
Sure. How can I help you?
I have a jock strap that I bought a little while ago, and I wear it for like 2 weeks, and it's not my thing. Can I return it?
Actually, yes, you can. Do you still have your receipt?
No, I don't.
Do you have a rewards card?
I don't.
Okay.
Actually, I might have stolen it. I'm not quite sure.
Okay. Well, you can check it in at the police department, and usually at this point, the prank callers hang up. I've gotten those calls. Legitimately.
I love those calls, man. I work with them all day.
Teenage boys think it's hilarious to call a sports store and ask for jock straps.
Oh, do they really?
Oh, yeah. And they
See,
always ask if they have the extra.
My mind is 12, so I'm right in line.
Oh yeah.
And they always ask if they have an extra large in stock. Like,
I never had to ask for that.
yeah.
Just for the record.
But did you hear that?
Yeah, that was great, by the way.
My husband thinks it's creepy. He'll call
It's
me.
creepy.
He'll call me at work, and I'll answer the phone.
Did you ever do it like an
"Stop it."
answering machine, but it's really you?
It's
and
like
then
three octaves
he's
higher
waiting-
than a normal voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just waiting for the voicemail to finally end to leave a message, and he's like, never happens.
Yeah. She go, oh, you're so friendly. Oh, thank you so much. You're so sweet.
In the back of her mind, she's like, wee, wee.
Yeah.
I will tell you, my customer service scores are through the roof. I take it personally. If people don't give me good scores, I take it personally because
Will you like call them back, like, and star
Oh, you
69?
can't do that.
No, not like that. It's more like I did everything for you. You're ungrateful. How are you going to give me, or it's just a satisfied instead of a totally satisfied? Don't you know how customer service scores work? Anything less than a 5 counts against me.
Isn't it? I have a big problem with scores with that stuff. It's either like you said, a 1 out of it has to be a 5, or you don't get credit for it. And I think that's a recipe for disaster. First of all, for everybody involved, and it's always the person who doesn't get the survey themselves is the person that goes, "That's a great idea. Put that down the line." You know.
The issue that I'm having now as far as how the scoring systems work, and I think it was like that too at Sports Authority, where they
Push that a little bit closer too.
Oh, sorry.
You can just push it closer too. You don't actually have to sit closer. There you go.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. It's a learning curve.
Right. So we do services for our store, and we also have a third-party service that we offer that as like a convenience to people, but it's not our business. So when people come in for that service and they get a customer service score and then they make it like, I wasn't totally satisfied. I was just satisfied. And the reason was because of their policies, not ours, is super frustrating.
Oh,
Yeah, it's 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 interesting. I mean, obviously, you need to kind of keep your finger on the pulse of like what customers or clients are saying. So you kind of need that feedback, but the way that feedback trickles down, and we'll continue to talk about Sports Authority since they're not around anymore, and maybe this is part of it. We don't know.
I mean,
they used, and it's actually still widely used. It's a Net Promoter, I think, is the I don't know if it's the company, but it's at least the language behind it. And basically what it says is, well, if they don't rate you, I think it was a 9 or a 10, they're not going to promote you. Okay. So it was kind of like a meh experience. So, if you go to some place and you're like, oh, this is a 10, like, we talked about the wines, like, oh, this is 100, like there's a pretty good chance that if you run into someone else, let's stay on the wine analogy, that there's a pretty good chance that if you run into someone that likes wine, and we can parallel it to sporting goods. If you come across 100 wine, or you feel you're going to tell your buddy that likes wine, right? Yeah. So you're a promoter, okay? But if you have that 90 or that 85, well, you're kind of in the middle. So you're between it was like a 7 and a 4, okay? So you're not a promoter, but probably won't say anything bad about it, if you run into your buddy that knows wine. But it was like 5 or 4 below. Now you're a detractor. Okay. So now if you run into your buddy that knows wine, you're going to be like, oh man, I had this wine. It was like a 70. Don't ever buy this.
Yeah.
So that's, again, parallel back to sporting goods. It's, I had a horrible experience here. Let me tell you, and you think about it, in real life, when you have a great experience, and I know I've talked about some things that I've really liked, and we've all talked about things that I really liked and things that we don't like, we haven't touched on all the middle ground. So it's pretty accurate, on a scale perspective. It makes sense.
Yeah.
The only caveat is exactly what she's talking about. When it was something that was beyond that store's control, or that person or that manager, or whatever, because it was something that, even though we're allowed to, go beyond policies, and, I made it regularly known it's okay to bend the rules if it's in the best interest of the customer.
Yeah.
But there's still things you're just bound to, and they're beyond your control.
Right.
And you'll get a phone call, or it's just not possible. And those were probably a large percentage of the detractors. Like the people are like, no, you're a 2 because this rule couldn't be broken.
Right.
And that was my biggest problem with all that. I thought all the feedback, and it was all genuine, and it all made sense. And even the detractors and the ones that you couldn't control was all really important stuff. But should I get penalized because of this, even if it's 25%, where it was fully out of my control? And even though I did everything great, or what I felt was great, try to explain it or find ways around it, there's just like this one roadblock that you just don't, you can't, and there was no variance for that.
Right.
That's my frustration with a lot of these, and I think that one program that we were on, aside from, I've been in a different, so many different of those measurables, it was the most accurate, but they all suffer from that same weakness.
Right.
It's fair to assume that if someone is taking your money, the survey that you've gotten is attached to that person directly. So good or bad, if it says overall satisfaction, you want to give it a higher score, or it's going to count against that person. So if you thought they were great, you should it's only a customer service survey you're probably doing to get 10% off your next order. Just give them a 5.
I take those very seriously. Like, I just recently changed over my phones. I was a Verizon customer for, 20-something years, maybe, somewhere around there. I just switched, and I went to another, I switched to T-Mobile. I went to another one totally out where I work, and this person wasn't in charge of when I switched, but I walked in there, and she totally helped me what I needed. And I said, hey, do you have a survey? And she looked at me weird. And she's like, yeah, I do. I'm like, could you give it to me? I said, because I'd love to give you a perfect score because you were outstanding. But she felt a little weird, like, I don't want to offer that. But that would have been a perfect time for her to do it. And I went out to my car and I called that number right away, and I gave her a glowing review. It was like, I think those are important, but I think people out there in in the world should really take those seriously. When someone gives you one of those, really, that's how that person's going to be rated on, that may be a big chunk of their raise or their promotion. Or
That's the other
That's
challenge
the
too,
other
is
thing,
that
yeah.
the angry people are the first ones to look for the survey.
Right.
And there's not enough people that are even marginally satisfied that will say, yes, I want to give this feedback.
Yeah.
Customer service is such a thankless job.
Yeah.
It
It's
is.
just a thankless job, and the squeaky wheel always gets the grease. I've been railing against it for years. It just is the way it is. But it's nice when the customers take a minute, because it really does. Does it take 30 seconds? I mean, I've done them. Is
Yeah.
it 30 seconds? Boom, boom, boom. It only takes longer if you actually read the questions.
Especially if they're online. Do it
Once
right
I
on my
realized I'm never going to win the $1,000 or whatever it is,
Right.
I'm like, you know what?
phone.
I'm
That
done
trip
with
to
this.
Aruba. Damn it.
There's too many people.
I
Too many
love
people doing
Aruba.
this.
Have you been there?
Aruba's my happy place.
I have never been there. My sister's been a couple times.
I haven't been. My brother's been a
It
couple
was
times.
amazing. And I also incidentally found out that 78 degrees is my ideal temperature.
It is.
Just
And it's always 78 in
Is it
Aruba,
really?
pretty much. I think almost year round.
Wow.
It might
It-
get a
it
little
was
warmer in the
amazing.
summer, but yeah, I've heard that like, it's like pretty constant in
Yeah.
Aruba. That's one of the reasons why it's like a destination kind of year round.
Yeah. Wow.
And I really only realized it when, I think it was last summer or the summer before, my husband came home from work and he says, "Oh my God, why are all the windows open?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" I'm like in shorts and a t-shirt, not wearing socks or anything. I'm just like hanging out on the couch. And he's like, "It is 1,000,000,000 degrees in here. Why isn't the air on?" I said, "What are you talking about? It's great in here." He goes, "The dog is panting. Why are all the windows open?" It's 78 degrees. I didn't notice the thermostat. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, now I know 78 degrees is my perfect temperature.
70 is without excessive humidity is actually pretty good. Anywhere in the
that's
70s.
hot for me.
Anywhere in the
Yeah.
70s is good without excessive humidity.
I'm cold. Like, it's cold in here.
It's cold here right now.
Oh, yeah. My hands are like ice.
Do you want the heat on?
I mean,
I have a
don't wanna-
heater.
It's fine. Like, if you do that, then you're going to be hot.
Oh, it doesn't bother us.
We just put it right by you.
Yeah, we put it right by you.
I told them, or told my husband, I'm like, "You're not allowed to make fun of me anymore when I put on a sweatshirt. Now that you know, I didn't even notice that the dog was hot." Like,
Do you want the heat on?
yeah, we'll get it later.
Listen, I'll put it on right now. It's not a
It's
big
fine.
deal.
It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. All right, welcome back. We all had to go pee, and
Yes.
now we're back. So
We're back.
there we are.
That's it.
And I have a heater, so I'm very
And no one's going to see any of this.
Yep.
So.
And we have a heat. Oh, it's
Yeah.
that pee thing's staying.
P thing staying?
The pee thing's staying.
Like just
Absolutely.
silence for like whatever.
Oh, just cut it. And then also,
Yeah, like
we're-
are they
hey,
peeing
we just peed.
together? Like, don't cross streams.
And then we just put the heater on for Liz too. So, because that's what we do. It's all about the guest.
Yes. You've made it very, very comfortable to be
Do you like
here.
it so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been fun. I hope you ask me to come again. I would totally come again.
Well, a
You
lot
should
of-
bring Dan next time.
A lot of times
I tried. He was
yeah.
indisposed.
A lot of times we have an extra chair that we can put in the corner with its own mic. Now you're not going to be at the table, but we do splice you in.
Right.
So
Which,
Yeah. So
of
if you ever
course,
want to
so
be
it-
an extra guest, like we're
Oh, I meant like
that's
if,
how I started.
That's what I mean. Oh, maybe if you and Dan were here, that absolutely baby would be in the corner.
all right. So my daughter just got locked out of my mother's house. So that sucks. Oh, my mother let her in with a code. There we go. She's watching the dogs while
Oh.
my mom is frolicking in Rhode Island somewhere.
What's your mom have for dogs?
What's that?
What's your mom have for dogs?
Teacup Yorkies.
Are they like smaller than regular Yorkies? Is that what it is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom dresses them in little dresses.
Oh,
Well,
it's
one of
one of-
them's a boy.
It's one of
but-
those.
Yeah.
So actually,
Is there a
was just-
calendar? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. But I just,
There probably is somewhere. Yeah, there probably is.
we were talking about Aruba.
Yeah.
Like, I highly recommend, by the way, like if you travel's coming back with everybody getting their vaccines and everything, like if you guys have an opportunity to go, it was really amazing. Everyone there was super friendly. The island was super clean. The place we stayed at, like, it was real nice. It got good reviews. It can be a little pricey, but it's
Yeah.
worth it. It was the best week I think I've ever had. I want to go back. My husband's insisting we see everything else first.
see, I'm the see everything else. But my brother recently started going there a few years ago, and now he keeps adding more time, and so this will be his third year. He just told me, he confirmed recently, he spends 2 weeks there over Thanksgiving. He's been spending Thanksgiving, and he absolutely loves it. And he talked to my other
Wow.
brother. My other brother leaves for Aruba like next week, for like a week and a half because he.
Does he need with someone to carry his luggage? I'm small.
So like among besides my brother, he's heard so many good things. So I'm like, and I've never seen Aruba, so the see everything else first doesn't apply. But the timing, like I'd love to go there with my brothers and stuff, but I try to stagger in so many other different travels that I can't always make it work. But I've heard nothing but great things about it as well.
Really, do yourself a favor. Anybody should totally go. It was just really, really great.
It's tough for me to travel. My wife has a brain injury, so it's really tough to travel. It's a lot for her just to be inside the airport, never mind getting on a plane and dealing with that whole nonsense.
Do you do a lot of local traffic, like within the States?
Yeah, I mean, we used to travel to South Carolina to see my parents. That we used to have to travel for just a few hours, get a hotel room, let her settle down, then get back out the next morning when she was fresh again. But there'd be some times where I try to make it straight through, and she would just be crying half the way.
What about like an RV? Because you could bring the dogs with you too.
One. Well, not RV, but you just got a camper. I
got a camper, but the floor is all rotted out.
Oh.
So now that's going to the RV place to get fixed, and this is one thing after another, man.
But for this year though.
Well,
right?
Hopefully we'll get it back. But the problem is where we're going. So many people want to go there to get their stuff fixed. He's like, listen, you drop it off on June 9th, and then I have no idea when I'm going to get to it.
Oh,
so it could be like we're not going to camp this year.
I mean, you could rent one.
We could.
You can rent them on like Airbnb type things.
Well, see, the problem is it comes down to me driving the whole time. She can't drive on the highway.
Well, yes.
A lot of the campgrounds also, like a lot of them started putting in like kind of like almost like tiny home style cabins and stuff. So like they're fully appointed. It's not like rustic where a lot of them still have rustic cabins, but like a lot of them have like showers and bathrooms. So it's it's maybe even a notch up from a camper, or even a really nice camper. And it's a good way to kind of just start feeling out that whole, I mean, we've done a few of those when we were traveling and kind of wanted to camp, but it was like beyond where we wanted to tow a camper or, if we were tenting or whatever. So we've done those and we've had great experiences. KOA Campground, which I think is a franchise, I think they might require from their franchisees to have certain number of those.
Yeah.
But great way to like get introduced into like the campground thing. And I know you guys already have one kind of set up for like a seasonal or planned. But still get you out. It's local, and there's a ton of them, within an hour drive from here probably.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Just a place to get away for the weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come home on Monday, down the street so we can take care of the dogs.
Oh, down the street. That might make it a little... We rented a house up in the Adirondacks for 4 days. That was nice. That was through Airbnb. You can do tree houses.
Oh, yeah.
There's all kinds of cool things on it. Yeah.
Legitimate tree houses.
Yeah. There's actually a whole section.
Like with a spiral staircase that goes up into a tree.
Is that what you did? Did you do?
No, there isn't one around here that we were able to go.
There's one in the Berkshires, but it's always booked. Like as far out as you can rent, it's always booked because I've checked it out.
That's where the money is.
Yeah,
that's what we should be doing. We should be doing one of those like mega tree houses like they do on that TLC show.
It takes mega money.
Yep, money I'm not willing to spend.
We're all in sales. I mean, if we really put our heads together,
we could.
Sounds like I'm peeing into the microphone.
Love that sound.
I gotta go to the bathroom again.
Oh, dear. So what was your turning point in retail that you finally just said, I am out? Because we all had, Jesus Christ. We all had that that moment where we wanted out. So what was yours?
Honestly, it was kind of on a lark. I was out to breakfast with my husband. He was getting on me again about how I need to get out of retail and get a normal person job that doesn't require 80 hours a week and only getting paid for 40.
We're not saying that retail is not a normal person job, FYI.
Yep. Regular person job with regular person hours is what he meant. Like a normal people job, like 9 to 5 with weekends off and bank holidays. And I'm like, that doesn't exist for most people.
Where's that?
It's at a bank.
Yeah.
He comes from a place of privilege. It is what it is. But he's turning a wrench in a workshop. So he's 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, gets weekends and holidays off. Retail doesn't recognize any holidays that aren't major.
It's like 3, I think, these days.
Yeah, Christmas, Easter, and maybe New Year's.
Sometimes Thanksgiving.
Well, it depends on the state. When
Not
I
in
was,
Connecticut.
When
I remember like in retail, like October 1st, I'm locked into 6 days all the way
Yep.
through. And then I always had inventory in January. So my 6-7 days got extended.
Went right through. Yep.
my mom goes, "Oh, hey, I can get us tickets. Would you want to go see Stevie Nicks?" And I went, "I would love to go see Stevie Nicks." I'm like, "When?" She goes, "Day after Thanksgiving." I went, "Yeah, right." Like, what are you talking?
Day after Thanksgiving.
What are
That's a
you
joke.
on? I'm like, that's Black Friday. I can't have that day off. I'm going to be on 12 hours minimum. Like, what are you, crazy? And
I actually quit like the week before Black Friday. And I didn't mean to do it to be disrespectful because I loved working for my
I
boss.
think I did that once too.
Shout out to Kevin Walsh. He was one of the best people I've ever worked for. But my assistant was promotable. I had a floating store manager that was in my store. So I felt very comfortable that was a good time to go. My assistant manager, we're still great friends to this day. Shout out to Lance Chernak. We had that great working relationship. I mean, we worked off each other so well. Like if I came in and I saw everything that he did on my list and he nailed it and then went on to other things, I'm like, okay, all right. I'm closing tonight. Let's go. And then we would try to outdo each other, but in a really productive way. And we had fun doing it.
Yep.
And that was my way of kind of getting him to the fast track a little faster and I just think I just had it. It wasn't the fact that I didn't like working for the company. I definitely like working for my boss. It was just those hours, man. And over that many years, I think it just took its toll on me. And I had an opportunity to go somewhere else where it was no nights, no weekends, and the holidays. And I said to myself, if you don't take this, you might not ever have this opportunity again. And my friend of mine, who was my mentor, used to always tell me that you didn't leave retail unless you were in a body bag.
Yeah. Well, if you made it through the first couple of years at least.
Yeah.
But like once you're 5 years plus, that's usually how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not trying to make a downturn here, but like mad props to this guy that I worked with at Big Lots. Same thing happened. So he was diabetic. He had a pacemaker and he needed to have heart surgery. And his doctor kept saying, you need to have this, you need to have this. And he's like, well, I can't. It's back to school. I can't. It's Thanksgiving. I can't. It's Christmas. I can't. It's coming into, Mother's Day, Father's Day. It's like there's always a holiday. And he kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And then he didn't show up for work on Monday.
Oof.
That was rough. And honestly, I think that was a little bit of it too. I don't mean to be dramatic about it, but I've been in retail since I was 16. For all intents and purposes, that's my skill. It's tough to see one of our own because I get it. I know what that's like.
Yep.
I missed when my kids were little, when they,
I missed out on so much stuff.
Yeah,
well, you hope that there's school because you can't take the day off from work and have a snow day. I didn't play in the snow with my kids. Even on snow days, I had to find someone else. I had to bring them to work with me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw something, and it was actually a pretty big turning point, and it wasn't very long after that I saw this, that I left retail, at least went into banking, which, the only similarity is that, there's like you had to work a half a day on a Saturday, so I didn't get my full weekend off. But it was something where there's only, and I'm going to get the number wrong for sure, but there's only 940 weekends from the time your kid's born till they turn 18. And again, I don't know if that number is exact, but it was pretty impactful because, when at the time I saw that, I had 2 sons, and I hadn't seen either one of them play like in a baseball game, because they were always on Saturdays. And that moment was pretty much the moment, even though previously I had said I would never retire from retail. I'm like, I'm getting the F out of retail. And I want to say it was probably within a year that I kind of had my exit plan and executed it, because it was just like, I don't want to ever miss any of that stuff again.
And I feel a little bad bringing young people into retail. Like, I know that they say it's a stepping stone position and it teaches them the skills they need.
It's valuable.
It
I
is.
think everybody
It is.
should do it.
But you know what? It's a black hole is what
Nah.
it is. High school students, they get to working. I mean, at least it's a little personal for me, I guess, because I was working 3 part-time jobs my senior year in high school to get around the labor laws. You can only work, 15 hours a week when you're 17. So how do you work more than that? You get more than one job.
Yeah.
So I've been in this industry. You say, oh, well, I'm only going to do this until I graduate college. And then you graduate college and they don't, not me, but other people, I've seen them over and over and over again. I'm just until I graduate. And then you hope, like Courtney, you hope that when she leaves, she actually gets to use her degree because she's super smart and capable. And then you get people like me who just kind of stay in one cycle of retail. You break out and then a hardship and then you fall back onto something that you can do. It's just very hard to get out of once you're in it, I feel like.
It is.
Well, one, because a lot of times it pays well.
Not necessarily.
Well,
If
it
you
does
get
when you
into
get to a
upper
certain
management,
upper
it
management
does.
pays well.
Okay.
Not everybody has those skills, though.
Yeah.
But that's exactly it. It requires certain skills, and those are skills that are transferable to everywhere. And that's, where like a lot of those things come from. We talked about earlier. It was like, I wouldn't be doing, and it's not usually nothing that's related, and that's why I think that everybody should spend some time in that industry. And some people choose, it's a choice.
Yep.
I think service
To
as
stay.
a general, not necessarily retail. Service as a general.
But it helps you in so many manners, just from day to day interacting with people, because you gain those soft skills of, how to kind of read people and, how to approach a conversation. And then if and when, even if you're interviewing for another retail position, you have the skills to sell yourself because you've been selling or you've been interacting with people. Like, you can read people, where the conversation needs to go. A lot of people will say that's how they met their significant other, based on skills they worked in retail. It's all those things. The world needs those people, and they're the strongest people alive, because they put up with, that, and obviously essential workers, but it's brutal. But I think one of the most important things, and this is why, and I'll bring it home here, it helps you appreciate what the people on the other end do. I think more than anything. So if you're taking that shit, for a couple years,
Yeah.
you think twice when you're in that situation. We
Right.
talked about like the customer service surveys. It's like, and I think that's where that's the biggest benefit that someone can learn, aside from all those other, the social aspect of it and how to interact with other people. Knowing what someone else is going through, and, and understanding, and even if it's a real life situation, not just like the Karen situation,
Yeah.
just dealing with people in general, the empathy part, because you've been there, you've been in that receiving end, and maybe it was 6 months and you decided, hell no, I can't deal with this. But I know I'll never act like that when I'm on the other side. That's the most important part. And that's why I think everybody, as much as it sucks, and you might make a career out of it, whether you like it or not,
Yeah.
get in there, because
I don't think I can't agree with you 100% on that. I do think that people need to experience the customer service industry aspect, whether that's in retail or
Well, they say
hospitality.
they say being a waiter, everybody should be
or
waiting on
in
tables.
waits, wait service in whatever capacity that service.
I kind of consider food and service retail. I've done them both.
Yeah, but they're
And
not. I mean, they're
the
sales,
pain,
but they're.
What
Yeah,
sales?
The pain is very similar.
If you take so yes, I'll say service. Now, you're not necessarily retail, because especially, but a lot of retail, and I think that's maybe just the way I look at it. A lot of retail in general it's almost all service, unless you're in like a commission based and or incentive based atmosphere. So yes, I guess you could kind of say service.
Well, I feel some are harder than others too. Like I feel like wait staff, people like servers, have it way worse than we did in retail. I feel like they're like the blue collar service workers. They're the ones that are like down there in the dirt working for pennies. You know, the ones that are really scrapping for every penny because
because it's really
minimum wage
they were
is
making like 30 cents an hour back in the day.
But here's another example, like when you're really good at customer service, right? I love my waitresses and waiters. I really get to know them. And my wife gets weirded out with that sometimes. Like I want to know their name and I call them by their name. I don't go just like, hey, you, or I really want to.
Especially if you can tell it's going to be good service. Absolutely. Yep.
And I think those people that nail it do very well, and it can be very lucrative for them. I've had some friends that done, the waitresses or waiters, and they made tons of dough working almost no hours, like 20 hours a week, 25 hours a week as like a part-time gig. And they're taking home some very credible amount of money.
Yeah. I know some people that were working part-time out in Boston making 70, 80 grand.
Now imagine if they made minimum wage and tips because they went above and beyond. Could you imagine?
Yeah. I tell this all the time. I think food's very intimate. I love food, but I'm on a diet now, and I lost 6 pounds.
Yes, congratulations.
And I made it a point not to.
You said last week you were buckling down.
I look back at my old pictures, and I know I shouldn't be doing that, but I look at my old weightlifting pictures, and I'm like, man, where did that guy go? And even when I met you, I wasn't this big because I was constantly lifting stuff and working and running, and COVID really messed me up. And I was fat before COVID, but COVID was my excuse. I finally just said I'm done, and I didn't cheat one time last week. Although I did have a slice of pizza on Friday, but that was my reward of eating right the whole rest of the week.
You got to do it.
Yep, and down 6 pounds. It was almost 7, but I'm just going to say it's 6 because I didn't get to 7. I started the stationary bike today, and I mowed the lawn today. And I'm going to be honest with you, this time of night, I'm usually tired because I'm on conference calls all day. I'm helping customers out all day. By the time I get to this, sometimes I'm fried.
Feeling better already.
I feel better already.
Yeah.
And like I feel like I just asked my wife while we were talking, "Do you want to go for a walk tonight after this is done?" I would never do that. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go to bed. It's like 8:30 and I'm like, I'm toast. But the other thing too that's really helping me is I think people have to be honest with their doctors. Like I'm blessed to have a great doctor, and me and her, we connect very well. I'm not afraid to say something to her. She's not afraid to say something to me. And she finally looked at me last Monday and she's like, listen, dude, I've known you for a long time. You're gaining some weight. And so thank God my blood work came back really, really good. But she's like, if this changes, and she showed me, these numbers, this is your risk factor. And she goes, how does that make you feel? Like,
old.
I go, holy shit.
Old.
And I made it right then and there. I said, she goes, now look at me and promise me when you leave this office, you're going to make a change. And I said, done. And I told my wife this morning that I feel good about it and I'm solid with my decision. And once that happens, I'm done. It's that mental thing. Once you finally say,
sometimes it's just a switch and you're just like,
yep,
that's the way I'm going to go.
I would be inclined to agree with you, sir, if the exact opposite hadn't happened to me like 2 weeks ago, maybe like a month. I got it in my head that selling insurance was going to be like the thing I was going to do. I was going to sell it for my company because we do a bunch of different stuff. So I was going to go take the test, and I'm going to be this insurance agent, and I know a bunch of people, and everybody needs insurance. It's going to be great. I'm so good at sales. I could do this. And my boss was like, yes, we have an empty desk. You should definitely do this. And I'm going to talk to this guy, and we're going to make this happen. I'm like, yes, we're going to make this happen. And I made my decision. And I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I spent $250 for the online access and the live classes and the book. And I'm studying and I'm reading in my downtime. And then I realized I'm not retaining any of this. And the manager was like, oh, don't worry about passing. Just pass the test. You're not going to need any of this. So I'm studying. I'm killing myself to try to absorb all of this. It's so dry. Oh, my God, guys, it's so dry.
And you're doing it right now?
No, that's my point.
Did you pass?
I didn't even try.
Oh,
Like everybody's saying, you
You didn't even try.
nobody passes
gotta
it.
try.
Nobody passes it the first time, and it's $75 to
You
take
can't
the test.
say that.
Do you?
Yeah.
You can't say nobody passed
No,
the first time.
I can actually. One person in my office.
All right, in your
One.
office, but what are the percentages?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, I had to take a
One, two,
whole bunch of tests for my job, and a lot of people fail.
So
But a lot of
80
people fail them, rather.
80% of the insurance agents in my office did not pass it the first time.
okay. I mean, let's say that's true.
It is true.
Yeah, but
Okay, but
overall,
I'm
that's,
just
I mean,
saying
maybe you just got a
overall,
bunch of dumb
yeah.
people
So
in your office.
Is that going to
Yeah.
deter you from
Yeah.
doing it?
So
a
So
second
you're
time?
saying you're
I-
you're not better than 80% of the people in your office?
Yes.
So what's the difference between
That's some
someone who
horseshit.
fails and someone who tries? What's the difference?
Oh, I understand. I read those things too.
Somebody tried
miss
one
a-
more
See-
time.
see why
100
she-
100%
see why she
of the
used to make me
shots-
angry?
Yeah.
You see this?
I
right
can
here?
see how. Yeah.
You see the-
right now, I want to fire her right now.
100% of the shots you don't take. I get it. It's just, it got really overwhelming. I'm not a good test taker.
That's okay. Those things are all okay, but fear is a. We talk about that a lot about my job.
I
fear.
mean,
So
if
let me-
it
well,
wasn't
no.
going to cost me $100 every time I take this test.
Okay, so you spent how much on the materials and stuff?
$250.
Okay. And the test just to take it's 100?
The test just to take it is $75, and then the license costs money too, and that doesn't include life insurance. It's
Okay.
only property and casualty.
All right.
So I got to get licensed for that, and then I have to take a separate test to do life insurance.
Okay. So 250 take test is so we're at 325, right? So no matter what, you already paid for the materials, you're out 250, right?
Yes.
Okay. You paid the extra $75, you failed the test. What are you out other than another $75? Do you lose your job?
Do you know how much money I put in my savings account every 2 weeks?
No.
But listen,
Do you know
yeah,
how
yeah.
long it takes me to save $250?
But you already
I-
spent the 250. You were
right,
you were
so I should
already
just
in.
cut my losses.
No.
No.
How much you can be
What
making?
was the
yeah,
upside? What was the income potential?
Yeah. That's how you have to look at it.
Okay, so
How quickly could you have made back $75? Because you already spent the 250. We're talking about
So-
$75.
if I make my monthly numbers every month, I can make more than I was making at the bottom tier for the first 2 years. So the way that they have it set up, it's commission based. It's all commission and it's all repeat business. And I'm like, okay, well, it gives me 2 years to like build my book and it'll be fine. And it just got like, I don't know that I just
So
want
so you would rather just assume you fail rather than see a piece of paper that says you did fail?
Yeah.
I feel like
And how do you sleep at night?
because I feel like it's important to know your limits.
But you don't know your limits until you
Yeah.
test them.
But I do know my
Test
limits. So
them.
Okay, so hold on. I just want to get this straight because we love numbers, me and
I
Brett.
hate numbers. Numbers are not my
So-
forte.
The next step is you have to take the test.
I don't want to take the test.
No, just no more negative Nancy. Is it $75 to take the test?
I think so, yeah.
I'll pay for the test.
I was just going to say I will split
No,
half that
that's not
test.
the-
No,
you're missing the
it's
point.
already done.
No, you're
it's
missing
already
the
done.
point.
You have two people here who are investing in your future.
Guys,
Okay, so me and Brett
$37.50.
a piece. That's math right there. We're going to invest in your future. All we're asking you to do
Take
is
this.
take the test.
I don't want to hustle for the next 15 years.
Well, that's a different thing.
That's it. Yeah.
right. But you didn't let me finish. Like
We don't have that much time.
I don't want to have to edit 15 years of a podcast. I'm just
No.
saying.
No, I mean, really, at the end of the day, like you were saying, like once I set my mind to something, like I had set my mind to it. I was pretty sure I was going to use you as a contact because you know everybody. Like I'm like I know people, and I know people in mass. I'm not licensed to sell
So
in
what
mass,
changed?
but
Was it fear?
no, I don't think it was. I don't think it's fear.
Okay, so what facts did you have that you were not going to be good?
Because you
It's
set
not-
your mind like
it's not
it
that I
wasn't
wouldn't be good. I
Okay.
would be amazing.
right.
All
So
right,
so
It's-
right now it just sounds like you
I
were
just-
afraid to fail the test.
That was part of it. The other part of it is assuming that I passed the test, right? Okay, I'm cool. I'm licensed. Good to go. Now I got to start hustling every day. Like I was doing that at Solar City. Like if you're going to stand in the middle of a mall trying to get people to stop and talk to you.
But you don't
and
have to
then-
do that though. That's
but-
something else. But
Right, but what I mean is that the expectation of building my insurance book would start, basically
it's fear.
going, no,
That's a
they
fear mentality.
came
So-
right out and told me I have to go through the neighborhood. I have to start networking and doing all this other stuff. And honestly, I'm just tired. I'm tired of the networking. I'm tired.
So it's more direct sales.
I'm tired of the schmoozing. I would rather just go to work and have them come to me, and then I can do the thing that I do best, and that's be nice to people and help them when I can. And that's what gives me job satisfaction. Like, the money is nice, but I don't want that to be the only thing. I like that people come in and within 15 or 20 minutes, I've left them with a smile on their face. I gave them what they want. They're happy. I did something good for my company. I made repeat business, and they paid me for it. That's great.
I'm interested, though, in the spark that you decided that you wanted to go do something else. There was something behind that. So where does that?
Yeah, and I'll agree with all that, because that's exactly where I'm at. Like, I liked making people happy, but I hated the sales part. So, like, I can say, like, and the one thing I never want to do is rely 100% on, like, my hustle to make money, because, sometimes there's weeks where, like, something happens in your life and you just don't have it in you.
Commission?
And all of a sudden it's like,
I'm 100% commission.
Yeah.
So
with commission, there absolutely 100% is fear.
Yeah.
With commission, 100% I will cop to it. There's definitely fear when it comes to that.
So let's back it up. Like, you talked about, like, the absolution behind, like, making that decision with, like, Jeff's, like, weight loss, where it's like, okay, that's it. It's in my mind. Like, this is the thing. So that doesn't happen easily. Like,
No,
now Jeff's like looking at, like, well, we'll call it life threatening, I guess, in the long term,
absolutely,
where it's like, this could become a big issue. So something had to trigger that for you, if you're talking about the absolution of that decision.
No, I think I just did it on a whim. I think I saw an empty desk and I was like, oh, I'd really like to sit at a desk. And I was just like,
there's empty desks all over the place. Are you looking outside your company?
Who sits at that desk? An insurance agent. But I like my office. I don't want to leave. I like the people I work with.
More importantly, why is it empty?
Because he went
That's a good call.
Because they were working from home, and he lives closer to a different office. So there was an opening there. He asked for a transfer because it was closer to home.
All right, so that's a good one.
So did you ever sit down with him and talk to him about his lifestyle with this business and how he's grown and the benefits of being a sales or being a insurance agent?
I definitely talked to both of them. So we have 3 that were originally out of our office, and 2 of them, their numbers were so amazing that they were given assistance. So they're full-time working from home, and their assistants represent them and sell policies and do stuff on their behalf out of the office. And the assistants are hourly. So I could definitely do that. But then, yes, it turns into the test. And then if I pass the test, then I have to go to a different office. Who knows where they're going to transfer me to?
Okay, all right. So
pulling back.
We got some conflicting things coming.
I like working 7 minutes from where I live.
Oh, yeah, all right. But, we're changing stories here, because first was like, I don't want to have to do the hustle.
About,
Why can't
now you can be an assistant.
Why can't it be both?
No. So,
I could be an assistant, but it wouldn't be in my local office.
And I don't know. I also work for an insurance company. I don't work for that division of that company. But some assistants actually, depending on the deal with the agencies, can get a percentage of sales as long as you're licensed, in addition to the hourly. It's usually a small percentage, but if you work for a successful agent, and obviously if you perform well, there's an even greater, you're getting a commission just for being good at service.
I mean, I can get behind that. I really do everything I can to make people happy.
So let's just get back to the fact that you should just take the test.
I don't want to take the test.
You should just take the test.
Do you have any idea? I crammed for like 2 weeks, and I didn't even get through the 6th chapter of the book. There's like 23 chapters.
So maybe it takes more than 2 weeks. I mean,
because I'm not good.
That's
at
how I am.
book learning.
It takes me a little bit longer.
If they could just train me on the job and then have me take the test, I would be golden.
So could that happen?
No, not in this position. You have to take the test before they're going to do anything. You have to be licensed before they'll do anything with you.
So how much more time do you think that you would need?
Well, I've sort of lacked the motivation now, so indefinitely.
So
I don't.
We need to get the spark going back for her, because the spark was there we had the mental fortitude to go through and start the first
I
process.
mean, but I also like a lot of things.
I mean, look at my modeling career was booming at one time. Okay, not anymore.
It was a glorious 2 weeks.
It was. if it was that, thanks for the 2 weeks. You know, but think about all the different things that you've done, right? Retail's not easy. You have to wear a lot of hats. You have to do a lot of
Yeah,
things.
but I'm old now. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the grind. I want it to be boring.
You're old. You graduated in this millennium.
I was going to say she graduated in what, 2000 and
I
what?
mean, barely. I graduated before September 11th.
You're
Barely.
barely, yeah,
Yep.
barely.
To be fair, that was a different time. Things changed on that date, so I'm from the before 4 time.
I'm confused. All right.
The world got
I
different.
mean, I'm like old, and I took on a brand new career in
Yeah,
an
me
industry
too.
I never worked in 3 years ago, and I passed 5 exams. Okay, and each of them are a minimum 100 to 150 hours of studying, and they're 3 to 6 hour exams, and I'm old,
Okay, but
So-
you're smart.
and you're not.
You are smart.
mean-
though. He is very worldly.
I mean, you're a
Worldly.
smart ass, but I mean, beyond that,
I'm smart in other
I'm
ways.
worldly.
Yeah, very worldly.
I'm smart in other ways. I know I'm street smart, kind of.
Well, I am too. But you know what? I went into a whole new business that I wasn't ready for either.
Yeah.
Okay.
You like podcasting, like
Podcasting and what I do for work, which I can't talk about, but it's
that's right. Yeah, you
Yeah.
changed industries.
you know,
like,
huge.
yeah.
Okay, I went to an industry that, but what I let in though was business, and you have a very business mind, right? So your mindset is there. It's the fear, it's the change, it's feeling uncomfortable, and that weirds a lot of people out. But imagine like me. Okay, so I had the fear of flying, and before COVID, we had to fly a lot, and one little bump, and I think the plane's going down. Okay. I pushed through though. I took Pepto-Bismol. You know, I drank before I got I did everything I could to get on that plane because I knew once I got on the plane, I was fine. I learned how to watch movies. I learned how to sensory, so I didn't have that sensory overload. I focused on one thing in the plane. It was my iPad. So I got to where I was going to go. I had a great time. Way home, I had to do the same thing to get home. I flew home in ice storms out of Chicago where I thought the plane was going to crash because it started doing some crazy shit. But at the end of the day, I felt uncomfortable for a long time. Years, 2 years almost, I was uncomfortable. But now I get up in the morning and so there's a learning curve, and that's okay. But I think you're selling yourself short that you're not smart enough.
When you're uncomfortable,
Yeah, but
that's the moment when you're getting better.
Absolutely.
I love you. That's what people say to people to keep them motivated.
No,
It's cool.
It's true.
It's cool.
You know what we're going to do right now?
What?
We're going to call Roger.
Who the hell's Roger?
So Roger is my accountability partner at
oh
work.
my gosh.
Okay? And
Oh,
Roger,
we've talked to Roger.
we've
before.
talked to Roger
Yeah.
before. And if you don't know Roger, you're going to know Roger today.
Help me, Rhonda.
And
No, Roger, help you, Roger.
Yeah, help me, Roger. And hopefully he's not doing one of his Facebook Live things, but we are going to
See, you're in for it now.
Yeah.
We're calling
my
Roger.
gosh.
we're calling Roger right
This
now.
This is
I
the
didn't intend for this to come off self-deprecating, guys.
Listen,
like,
you don't-
it's fine.
When you sit down with us, we're all about motivation. We're all about
You guys sound like my parents.
we are good to go.
No, I'm your brother. Remember?
That's right. There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
We got you now, buddy.
Yay.
Yeah, there we go.
So say hello to Liz, Roger.
Hi, Liz.
Hi, Roger.
So
Hi.
this is another lesson on what would Roger say today.
Uh-oh.
So Liz works in the insurance industry.
Well,
and,
no.
Well, kind of. She wants to be an insurance agent.
In
Well,
the
I
s-
did.
We'll call
Yep.
it in the service part of an insurance industry.
And she has to take a test to get to the next level. So now she had the spark to go to the next level. She has studied.
Invested $250 to study.
Yep,
I mean,
250
anyone
bucks.
can invest in anything. It
And
doesn't
it's-
mean it's going to pan out.
And it's $75 to take the test. Now, she says that she doesn't want to take the test. She says because she's comfortable, but we know that's not true.
No.
Me and Brett agreed that we're going to split that cost of taking the test together. So now, what would Roger say?
Roger would send $25 to the pool also, because if you're going to do all that, you might as well just go all in and take the test.
Right. So what's the worst that's going to happen, Roger, if she takes the test?
You mess up and you have to take it again. I mean, you'll never know if you don't take the test.
Right. And that's what we're trying to tell her.
Yeah. You never know, and you can't use $75 as an excuse, because we got 3 people pitching in 25, and you already spent $250.
Yeah, but that doesn't address.
At least cash in on your $250.
That's right.
Okay, cool. I passed the test. Now I've got my license.
But now you have the choice. You have the choice.
I don't.
Right now, you're allowing your excuse around the test to make the choice for you.
If I pass the test, it's going to be expected that I go to it. It's not going to be.
But they can't make you.
My husband certainly can. He has many ways. Many ways.
So Roger, what would we be talking to her about if we were sitting in front of her right now?
I would ask her, where does she see herself in 3 years from now?
That's a good question.
I mean, where do you see yourself in? When I'm doing accountability or coaching, I say, where do you see yourself in 6 months, 1 year, 3 year, 5 years? And if you can't close your eyes and see yourself there, how do you expect us to help you to get there?
That's perfect, because I'm like exactly where I want to be. Once I got my bonus last month, my husband broke it down, and it ended up where it was like an $8 an hour raise. I basically made $23 an hour last month because of my bonus.
Well, so what can you make, though, in the new position? So, Roger, one of the things that we were talking to her about was, that feeling uncomfortable to be comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And, so I'll bring something up real quick. I met Roger a couple of years ago. We were handpicked to go to a special program at work. And Roger, he sat in front of me. Well, we met for breakfast, and I saw this big watch that this guy had on. And he had a friend request me on Facebook just a couple of weeks before that. And I saw that he worked with me, so I accepted. But I didn't realize the series of events that was going to happen, how we got to know each other, right? So we're at breakfast, and Roger's a big boy. He's a very handsome, very big boy. And he had this watch on. Yeah, the watch on about this big. And you guys know I love watches. So already he was my friend already. But what was interesting is when we got into this class, Roger was sitting in front of me. And we had to get up and talk to each other about who we were, how we got there, right? So this is important about where you might go if you take this test, right? So I noticed that Roger was taking notes down, and he was listening to everybody. I thought that was really interesting. And then he, long time down the road, got his notes out one day as we were talking, and he talked, and it was really interesting that what he thought of me when he wrote these notes. So, long story short, Roger has become my accountability partner, right? So it's very important as we go through life and we make decisions that we have somebody who's going to call you out on your bullshit, right? So when I call him, I already know the answer, but it's nice to have that someone go, okay, reaffirm that for me. Like,
hear somebody else tell you what you kind of might already know.
Right? So that's what we're doing right now. We want to make sure.
Okay, Mr. Roger, I have a question for you.
That just sounds weird when you say Mr. Roger. He's Roger.
Would you?
No, I can handle it. Go ahead.
No, would you agree? They say those who can't do teach, right? Like some people are better in proactive roles and some are better in support roles.
True.
Yes?
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. I think that I do better in a support role than a proactive
Liz, that wasn't a question.
one. No, my question was, would you agree?
Oh, okay.
We discussed how that passing this test could get you into a support role that would still be beneficial.
But then that support role would bring me out of my office, and I like being where I am.
It's the comfortable part, Roger. I'm comfortable.
If they had an opening for that position in my office, I may be more agreeable.
But, so there are those positions in your office?
There aren't any available right now.
Okay, but they do exist.
Well, they didn't until the 2 that they hired in. COVID was weird.
Okay. So you're saying that if those positions exist, and they could possibly open up. And if they do open up, they would probably be looking immediately for someone who has already passed the test.
Exactly.
Confirmed.
Right?
Liz, why are you so afraid of stepping out of your comfort zone? Or are you?
Why are you guys all so afraid of accepting that I know what I want?
It's
Sort
it's
of.
because you had the spark to go to the next level.
There was
but
a
something
spark,
stopped you.
and something put it out. But everything that you're saying that could have put it out has been debunked.
Not
Myth
every
busted.
spark is going to turn into a fire.
True.
You're extinguishing it though.
Yeah,
Like,
you're doing it on your own. It's not like
Yeah,
didn't know
because
this was
that
gonna be like a
ember
self-help
wasn't gonna
session,
make
did you?
yeah.
I had to sacrifice that ember for the prosperity of the fire as a whole.
are you afraid?
Are you
that,
happy? Are you happy with $8 an hour more? Are you happy with that?
Honestly,
Or is there
yeah,
something
I
more you want?
negotiate. No, actually, I negotiated because I'm good at. Because thanks to Brett, actually, like I am good at negotiating my pay. So
But what's the potential beyond that?
yeah.
There are other positions above mine. Like right now, I'm basically just a sales associate that's bonus eligible. So as long as I meet or exceed my goals, I instantly get more money an hour. Like they've got all spiffs and stuff that are dependent on actual numbers. So they're separate. So like, for example, every insurance referral I get an extra $20. So that's independent of my actual sales numbers. So as an additional bonus. Really, the sky's the limit. I am
And
my
what is
only
the
obstacle.
limit in the
other world, yeah.
In the past the
I
test
mean,
world?
so
Not that it's all about money,
no,
obviously,
but that
you know,
does
it's-
all depend on repeat business. So I've got 2 years to build my book. So I only get paid.
That's the sales part. No, but we already talked about
Well,
how
right, but
service
I-
might be. So
but
let's
I
look at
only-
the
but
part
I
that you might
only get
enjoy.
paid on renewals. My customer service skills could be amazing, but if people's insurance rates go up, there's no.
But that's going to happen though. Insurance rates go up. That's part of the world.
Every year.
right?
But there's no. What's the word I'm looking for?
Excuses. I'm
No,
hearing
no.
excuses. That's what I'm hearing.
That is not the word I'm looking
I was going to
for.
say uncomfortable.
Well, she's definitely
No,
uncomfortable.
loyalty.
Roger. I'll tell
There's
you that now.
there's no like loyalty from insurance company to
I don't
insurance
want
company.
Liz to think we're beating her up.
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
Let me Liz. Let me throw this at you. You know, I'm going to throw a little analogy at you. You know how Batgirl's got all her little gadgets like Batman does.
Yeah.
What would be so wrong with you having that extra gadget of passing your test on your belt, so to speak, when that time comes and you need it? Because right now you don't.
It's a free
so what
gadget.
happens in 2 weeks? What happens right now in 2 weeks when they say,
Not a
"Oh my
free
God,
gadget.
we need widget, whatever it is," and you happen to have it on your belt and no one else does, and they have to
Mhm.
go outside the company to get it. But if they do say it and it means $20 more an hour or whatever that figure is, and you already have it and you're in line and they know you have it, well, I'm not saying you're afraid to take a test, but I mean, if you've already done all the book work and you've paid $250, why not? That's like when I deal with my stylists in school. They go through school and they spend a year, they spend 9 months to a year and a half, depending on what it is. And then out of 30 students, there'll be like 8 that don't go take the test because it's a fear of failure. I'm not saying that's where you are. It's just, so you screw up, you got to go take it again. I've had several of the girls that had to take it 3 times.
So, did we discuss like what's the worst case scenario if you take it?
Yeah, and
It
before you say that,
yeah.
and maybe even because I like Roger's analogy, maybe you try the gadget out and you don't like it.
Yeah,
It's
you
not
go-
like you don't have the other gadgets.
I feel like I'm being misunderstood here.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the fear of failure. I'm just being pragmatic here. Like, my heart's not 100% in it. Like, it seemed like a good idea at the time. I just don't know if that's what I want to do. And before I drop more money into something that my heart's not really into, I would rather just cut my losses now.
But
All
we-
right,
but-
so
but
you
we-
said
yeah.
but you said you don't know if it's something you'd be into, but you also don't know for sure that it's something you won't be into. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you.
I
And we are.
don't
And we've already.
actually.
And we've already said that we're going to take care of the next part of the bill for you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but it's
there's
not.
nothing
It's
to
not.
lose.
I mean, it is, but it's not. Like, I mean, cool. You guys all awesome. You're behind me. Yay! You guys pay for my test, and I fail. And you know what? You guys really, really care about me. So you even pay for my second one, and I fail again. And where does it end? Like,
Wow. Why wouldn't you pass the first one? Well, you've already damned yourself because you said you done failed. Wow.
no, just it's the law of numbers. Like,
But
if
it's
you
also
talk
the
to-
it's
no,
also the law
no,
of
I'm telling
attraction.
you,
Like
like-
if you throw it out there.
Yes.
Me and Roger are all about that.
Why do people hate realists?
It's not being a realist. It's
Yeah.
Like, if you ask an insurance agent how many times they took a test, I think more often than not, you're going to find that they had to take it more than once.
okay. So what's the big deal?
Why can't you be that person? Why can't you be that number one? Who took it the first time and passed?
If my brain doesn't absorb stuff like that. It just doesn't. I'm better.
And I'm totally okay with not passing it the first time. I have failed tests on the first time plenty of times.
Like I said, if I can watch you and do it myself, I'm going to absorb it way faster than if I'm trying to read words on a page. It's just, my brain just doesn't soak it up like that. I don't know. I feel like if I'm going to commit to something for the next 25 years of my life, I like it to be something that gives me a spark. And I just don't think insurance is my spark.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, let me ask.
Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, Zig Ziglar taught me something, and he said, find something you love to do for free, and then find people to pay you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If this is something that you would not do for free, why in the hell are you working in that office? The job that I do, that Jeff does, I can't believe they pay me money to do what I do. I get up every morning, and there's a spring in my step. I tell the good Lord to step in my shoes and to take me where it is He wants me to go and what He wants me to say. I live for the next day. I can't believe I get paid to do that. And if you wake up and think, damn, I got to go to the office, it's a blah, blah, blah drive, and I got to deal with these people, and 2 or 3 of them I wish God would take to heaven, why are you even going in there?
I knew it. Are you from Virginia, sir?
Close.
No.
West
I'm in
Virginia?
Tennessee. I'm in Chattanooga. No, never. I think I've been through there once, but I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee. North Georgia.
So we just want to make sure at the end of the day, listen, at the end of the day, I'm okay if it's not what you want to do.
You didn't know this was going to be a self-help
That's
session,
right.
did you?
But
I'm so glad that they didn't do this to me.
yeah, I just want to, I just want to make sure
right.
that we don't miss an opportunity because of fear. Because fear, we can get through we can team it out and we can make a plan. I mean, you can't take the leaders out of us. Like that's what we do.
I'm still distracted. Like, I'm sorry, sir. I meant no offense. It was a very
I didn't.
It was a
take
very
wrong.
Southern expression. That's all.
I have a very thick skin. It's all good. You're not going to hurt my feelings.
I'm just gonna get off the phone and be like, bless his heart.
Did I say bless? Did I say bless your heart?
No, but you were thinking it.
No, I have. I have before. Yeah, that is a Southern thing.
I'm just kidding.
We do, at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that if there's that fear, we can work through that. We want the best for you, and if we have to help that along by helping out, well, we're down. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, you worked for me for like 7 years. I'm pretty sure you can pass a test. I don't think.
We believe in what you can do.
I think you were the person that worked for me the longest in that store. So yeah.
Oh yeah. But by the way, Roger, so Brett that does my podcast with me, Liz used to work for him years ago. So
okay,
we're right back to what we're
yeah.
And I kind of worked for Liz at one point. That's how I met her.
I mean, kind of by proxy.
Yeah, but
I couldn't fire him or anything.
Yeah.
So familiar
Yeah.
faces, and I got you. Okay.
So you know how I work, Roger. We're all about elevation and helping people be successful.
100%.
So I had to call.
Well, and I'll ask Liz. Let me ask you this: what keeps you awake at night? I mean, that might be too deep for this conversation.
Oh, she wasn't ready. She wasn't ready for that
Yeah.
one.
Well,
or is it not
okay.
taking this test going to keep you up at night?
No,
long term.
Definitely not. Honestly, if I'm being honest, the things that keep me up at night is, did my daughter run the dryer a second time? Is it damp in the middle there?
So trivial stuff. Okay.
100% all night.
Okay. Good.
So it's not anything serious. So
good.
all joking aside,
Yep.
my random thoughts are what keep me up at night, not anything major. And that job transition is what I'm afraid to go back to. So maybe fine, if I'm being honest, maybe there's a little bit of fear there. Like, I don't want to go back to having to hustle all the time. Like, I like that my life has slowed down. I like that I know interests my daughter and what my son is up to.
So can you still do that at the next level, though?
What I worry about, I mean, There is an assistant manager position in my store. I mean, it's filled right now, but I'm confident that if she ever vacates that position, she's great at her job, so I don't see any reason why she'd be let go. But if she ever vacated her position, I think that by the time that happens, I would have enough knowledge under my belt to be a really good supporting actor for my store manager. If my store manager ever left, I'm sure the assistant would step into her position, and maybe I can be her position, and then maybe I can move up to a store level. I don't want to be...
Okay, so you see your path. It just might not be immediate.
No.
Yeah.
So,
and
I mean,
we just
that's-
want to make sure that you're not passing up an opportunity to better yourself in a way that down the road, like if you said to me 2 years, I know what that 2 years is like. And Roger will tell you, I've grown a lot in 2 years in what we've done, and he has been an integral part of helping me grow and showing me the things that I had to do to be successful, the things to look at. So that's all we're doing. I just want to make sure that, you didn't pass up an opportunity because, again, I'm very sensitive about the time. I get it. But I can tell you after 2 years of doing what I do, I now have this clear thought. You know what I mean? Like I'm on
Like, look how passionate is he about it.
I'm on the
Like
fuck.
we started talking about it. He's
I
like,
know.
we're calling Roger. He's like,
Yeah,
we gotta
like,
get to the
I
bottom of
think-
this. Like, it's a big deal.
I think what upsets me more about the whole thing is having to save face now against the people that I actually spoke to with that amount of enthusiasm towards it. Now I have to say, well, wait, maybe I got a little carried away. That thing that I said I was super dedicated to, now I have to eat crow.
It's not about that. As long as you're honest.
I mean, it is though. Yes, to normal, understanding and compassionate people who recognize that happens to everybody, they kind of move on. But at the same time, like that door is closed. Like if I don't jump at this, they will never entertain me for this position again because that's sales. That's how that works. So
I don't know. I've seen doors close and doors open. I mean, me and Roger have that happen all the time, right, Roger? I mean, doors come and go, but
if I really
Be
wanted,
careful
I can
what you
get that
put
door
out in
to
the
open.
universe.
Yep.
Well, that's what I
Be
mean.
careful what you put out in the universe.
I know.
Because what you speak is exactly what's going to happen in your life.
Yep.
I'm a firm believer in the good book where it says life and death is in the tongue. What you speak on yourself is exactly what you're going to become. Period.
Yeah, I don't
And if
like
there's
putting
doubt,
stuff out there.
if-
I feel like
if
it
there's
jinxes
complacency,
things.
it's not even jinxing. It's just you're speaking it, and that's what happens. And it's just crazy how it works. The universe doesn't care what you say. I'm a faith believer, and I believe in God. But when you speak it out there, your mind hears it, and it acts on it. So be really cautious on what you say.
Yep.
And you'll be amazed at how your life just flips. The whole switch flips. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And people can think I'm crazy. I could care less. I'm living my best life, and I get one shot at this.
That's
I don't
a
get it. I
fact.
don't get a do-over. I don't get a do-over. So I'm going to make sure that I pour into people as much as I would want them to pour into me. And if they're going to be negative and ugly, they're dismissed. I don't hang around them. I don't have time for them.
You must have boundless
They're not going to
energy.
suck the life out of them.
Roger is a very passionate man, and I'll tell you that my way of thinking, and I think that's what brought us together. That we have a very similar way of thinking, and our goals are all pretty much the same. And
Mindset. Yeah.
we'll be in an account, and I'll call Roger, and if I'm having the same challenge like we're having, not necessarily a challenge, but an issue where that fear or whatever, I'll call Roger, and we'll have that conversation together with that person, and it's amazing, But at the end of the day, we want you to be happy. But I just like to hear when you have that spark of doing something else, and then that spark gets put out. I want to know why, because if it's something that we can work on and get through together, how amazing would that be to get you where you want to be? But you have to want to be there. It's
It's a pretty, very reasonable
nothing
objections. I
good
mean,
comes from-
everything you had to say, Liz, pretty much aligns with, a lot of what, how I feel. Like, I don't want to be part of that hustle,
Yeah.
So like,
I'm just tired.
There's
I
an
did it
upside.
and that's
but
honest.
The
That's
the
honest.
the only objection I have to all of it really is I'll go back to the gadgets analogy. Like, if you were that close,
Yeah, that's the thing.
just do it. I think we've beat Liz up enough about this. You know, to be honest.
9-10 on my SATs,
Yeah.
guys. Come on.
Is that good?
Yeah,
I don't even know if that's
I don't
good.
even know if that's
It
good.
is
Like,
not. It
does
is
anybody
not
know
good.
anything
No,
about
it
SATs
is-
anymore?
I didn't
Like,
take my
I
SAT,
think
so I don't
it's a
even
shade
know.
above mediocre.
Yeah.
Like, it was not great. It was not great.
you know, but that's my only problem is just like, you know, like you're at the high dive and you're about to do like, even if it was a belly flop, you're
You
at,
showed up.
you showed up and you're there. And other than that, like I'm kind of done talking about it.
Yeah.
But that's
Oh,
like,
Brett, that's good. Not
you-
she's walking back down the stairs instead of jumping.
yeah, like that's
That's good.
the only issue I have. Like, you know what I mean? Because like when you're at that point, you decided you failed versus just getting like the thing on the paper that says you failed.
Yeah.
I
But
think
don't-
I think
yeah,
we've
but I don't
exhausted
need
this
to-
honestly, and I don't want to harp on it,
need
but
to try something to know that it's not for me.
That's
like-
okay.
but
Like,
you're-
oh, meth. I don't want to do meth.
yeah, but
so I
but
just
when was the
don't do
last
it.
time you went out and bought $250 worth of meth and then didn't smoke it?
I
Yeah.
mean, never. Because
Truth.
Okay.
That
because
is
you're not
true.
supposed to do meth. It's bad.
Oh, it's like today. I went outside and I mowed the lawn without my shirt
Listen,
on. Right?
meth spelled backwards doesn't spell tests. You can take a test, especially after you spent $250
Yeah.
to study for it.
I mean,
And we
I've-
definitely don't want to see Jeff mow the lawn without his shirt
Yeah.
on.
Now there was a lot of anxiety about
I mean,
me.
he is 7 pounds lighter.
I am.
So I can
Almost
only
seven- almost
imagine
7
what
pounds,
that's
almost
doing.
Yeah,
I
I'll-
Yeah.
was
we'll
just
take that
gonna
back.
say,
Last week, Jeff, we didn't want to see.
No, and I went outside today with my shirt off. You know what? And it was uncomfortable, but I did it. And when I came back in, I was still uncomfortable. But
The only
next-
difference was
Yeah.
now his neighbors are uncomfortable.
That's right. And if you can't beat me, join me.
visual.
And next week, when I'm 6 pounds lighter, I'll be 12 pounds altogether, and I'll be better off.
Yeah,
See?
yeah.
But
And the
don't
neighbors
be,
will have their shades drawn.
but
That's
don't
right.
be upset if it's only 5.
That's right. But I'm
Like,
committed. I have
That's
the
what I'm
mindset.
saying. Don't give up if it's only 5.
True.
Sometimes you got to take a step backwards to move forward.
Yeah,
True.
so I think what she's saying is even if you think you might fail, don't give up. Oh, wait.
Don't give up. It's just a
Ah,
Oh, wait. Was
boom.
I know. It's almost like I know
Oh.
this thing like backwards and forwards. I'm very self-aware, guys.
Okay. All right.
Like,
we're gonna be paying attention, and we're gonna be like your older brothers, and we're gonna check in.
I don't
See how
have
things
any
are
older
going.
brothers.
Well, you do now.
no? Yeah, well,
You do now.
3 of them.
You have 3 of them.
Aw, but we just met. You're so sweet.
He is,
Oh, what a nice man.
that was the customer
I
service.
feel like
voice
we're
right
old
there.
friends.
and that's why he's a friend of mine.
Well, you are.
Fear. I always tell people fear stands for false evidence appearing real. Because when you finally step into it, you know how pissed off you're going to be that you didn't do it 6 months or 2 years sooner. Because it's not going to kill you to take the test, or if you don't want to take the test, that's fine. Just in general, and more than anything in life, I don't want to hear you say that you want to be complacent or just being. I mean, maybe you've been working super hard, like 80 hours a week or 90 hours a week, and now you just want to chill a little bit. I get it,
Yep.
but nothing good comes from comfort zones. I don't want you to be chill. I don't. I mean, I don't know how you said you had a couple of kids, and I don't want you. I want you to, I guess, make a better life for them too, and that's I do that for my boys, and I don't know. I just complacency. That's just kind of that's my it irks me when I hear people say that they're comfortable and complacent, and I'm like, when you're ready to make that leap, then call me. I guess we'll
What
talk
if-
some more.
But what if complacency gives you more time for things you really enjoy?
Well, then you're not balanced to begin with. Then you what does balance look
Ooh.
like for you? It's different. It's different for you than it is for me.
Sure.
So balance could be your job and your family and your spouse and your kids or church or different things like that. So what does balance look like for you? Are you taking me time first thing in the morning? Because I can tell you, if you're not, you're probably out of whack.
No, I
You're
have
giving
to.
it all away.
I
Okay,
have to.
that's
Yeah, I have to
huge.
ease
Good
into
for
my
you.
day.
Good for you. And that's usually the best time to do it is first thing in the morning. Because
No.
if you don't, the afternoon, it's the kids pulling you in one direction or the other, and the animals or the spouse or whatever. And you last thing you feel like doing is spending quality time with anybody. you're
That's
empty.
true. No, that's true. I generally shut down when I get home. I go through a lot during
We
the
all
day.
do. We give
Yep.
it away at work.
Yep.
Well, 'cause you
And
give a
people
lot
suck
of
the
yourself.
life out of us at work.
People don't realize
Well,
that.
but that's your fault for coming home empty though too. And if you accept responsibility for coming home empty and nothing left for your family and kids, that's where the balance comes in. And I know that I use this analogy of having a pitcher of tea, and in the South we use sweet tea. Anything above Kentucky, we don't do that up there. So what I do is I go to my schools and I'm like, how much sugar do you put in? And they say at least a cup to 2 cups of sugar. That's way too much for me. But
Wait,
the
you
analogy
put sugar
I'm
in
using
your
is,
tea?
oh my God,
sweet
it's
tea,
amazing.
yeah.
Right.
Ew.
But hang on now. No, just hang on. Listen to me. So when I go out all day, I leave the house with this imaginary pitcher of tea, a gallon thing of tea, and I pour out and I pour out and I pour out. When I pull in my driveway, there's this like a quarter of that pitcher of tea left. You let that tea sit for an hour or two, and that's usually my drive home. What's in the bottom of that? All that sugar settles. And I jokingly say, what do you think I'm bringing home to the missus? All that sugar. Because if I can pour it out and I can be sweet and I can fill you up all day long. But if I come home empty and my pitcher is empty for weeks and weeks and weeks, somebody's going to give her some sweets somewhere, and it ain't going to be me because I'm not bringing any home.
Oh, no. I'm not worried in that department. I spend time with my kids.
Okay.
I just mean more like
Good.
I definitely spend more time alone recharging. But my kids are 15. They don't really want to talk to. I don't see them unless they need to be fed or watered.
It's true. That is the age where you
And sometimes
you
I
suck
don't even
now,
see
yeah.
them when they're doing that. They
That's-
come like out in like the middle of the night, like
No, or I have to
Like
knock and
trolls.
say, hey, by the way, you need to go water yourself. Like,
You can brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to shut this podcast down because my wife wants to go for a
All
walk. And since I'm in the mindset of losing weight, Jeff's going to go
That's
take
it.
a walk.
the spark
Mindset.
is there.
Right? The spark is there. Because one day I'm going to take off my shirt in my front yard and I'm going to
And
have.
I'm going to sit and stare.
Paparazzi.
And then you're going to see angels. You're going to hear angels in the background. And then there I am. So it's all about the mindset.
to come sail away.
All right, Roger.
That's what I have
love
to
you,
say.
buddy.
Muscle
Thank
and
you.
fitness. Love you too.
All
right, Roger.
I'll call you tomorrow.
All right, bye. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
All right. So now you know where we're coming from. Oops.
Are we done? Are we like done?
No, we're not done yet.
We're wrapping up.
We're
Wrapping up.
wrapping
I
it up
know.
right now.
Roger's like a
Wow.
wizard.
He is. He's one of my favorite people, and Brett is one of my favorite people, and that's why he's on the podcast. And you never know. I always say things happen for a reason. You might have come on the podcast today to get that spark to go to the next level. And at the end of the day, if you don't want to do that, we're okay with that. But we wouldn't be doing our due diligence if we didn't try to get you to that next level.
I kind of felt like I was joining a cult for a minute with all the positivity flowing around here.
It was.
Like it was getting crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is like, I even felt better. I'm like, man, I'm cool, but now I'm motivated.
And
Like
then
one
what
of
if
those
I wanna
MLM
take a
retreats.
test?
One of those MLM retreats.
Yep.
Where they're like, you can do it.
Yep. And what if someone's watching this and says, I get, like, that's the spark they get to go to the next level? Imagine how impactful that is.
Like 5 years from now, there's going to be people like Liz was my spark t-shirts.
Okay,
This is crazy.
Wait.
Yep.
I'm not talking about everybody else. Like, everybody's different.
Sure.
If you feel a spark, you should absolutely 100% go for it. But if your heart is only halfway there, like, I feel like you owe it to yourself to be realistic about it. Like, you don't want to be frivolous.
So
about
you had
everything.
like one of those like miniature sparklers where it's like, it was like wicked brightness,
Yeah.
psh, and
Just
then
went
you're
right
like,
out.
oh, bummer.
that
I'm going to go
was-
get another one.
Like
Oh
it
my
was the
God,
dud
we could
that
have
you
saved
didn't
a
know you
phone
got.
call in 25 minutes if
You
you
were a
had just
miniature sparkler.
thrown the miniature sparkler thing out there. That makes total sense.
All right. Well, we learned that
Now we know.
Liz is very comfortable
Yep.
where she is, and this was all for nothing. And
And we're going to have to let Roger know that
Yep.
he needs to, educate himself on miniature sparklers.
and I'm just gonna order a pizza because fuck it. what does it matter anymore?
Oh, that means this is getting edited out.
Oh, no, it's staying. All right. So thank you very much for being on the podcast. We do very much appreciate you coming on and supporting us, and we hope
Clearly, it's a very comfortable atmosphere.
it is absolutely. This is all
My mama
family
calls
right
me
here.
Jabberjaws.
So, what else do you want to say for all the people on YouTube land?
If anyone else made it this far and he asks you to come on the podcast, you should because it's very fun.
And she gets paid $20 to say
That was,
I wish.
not a sponsor.
Was that her
Not a
customer
sponsor.
service
That
voice?
was a total
I think
customer service. That was actually
customer
like an
service.
octave higher than customer service voice,
Yeah.
I think.
I don't know.
That was like snotty teenager.
It was.
Like, oh, it totally was.
I'm a little offended by that.
Yeah, I am too.
Oh, now I feel bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Brett.
Yeah, you know the drill. IQ-Inc.com, screen print embroidery, anything from 1 to 1,000 shirts, and always, big promoter of my son's apparel brand, Blue Bee Apparel, bluebeeapparel.com, found on TikTok, not necessarily exclusively, but all his good content's there. at Blue Bee Apparel. That's all I got.
This thing will not shut up, by the way. Yeah, so the podcast, we are very big on animal rescue in this podcast. RainbowRescues.org. That's Rainbow Rescues with an S.org. If you can donate anything, blankets, pillows, money, please, we need it all the time. And we don't play the what's that song that they always play on Animal Rescues? Remember we played it that
Sarah
night?
McLachlan,
Sarah
yeah.
McLachlan, yeah. We will not be playing that when you call and or you visit our website, just so you know. So thank you very much for tuning into our latest podcast with Liz tonight. She did great, and we hope to have her on again.
Yep.
And then what we always do is
The most interesting, non-interesting person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what the comments have to say.
Yep. And if you think you're not interested out there too, come on and you'd be surprised. We'd love to have you. So, all right, guys, we're shutting this down. This fat guy's got to go for a walk.
All right.
Peace.